Hello and welcome to part 2 of MB300 Core Finance and Operations course. I am very pleased to welcome those of you that have been with me from the first part of this course, as well as those who just joined to this new course. I had an amazing experience by the first part of this course. Well, I came to know many amazing people who joined the first part and were so active in progressing on the course and doing their assignments. Sometimes they were dropping me some lines in the message box and thrilling me by their kind and encouraging words. To be honest, it is so much appreciated. Your kind support and constructive feedbacks mean a lot to me. Similar to the previous course, please guys, go ahead and provide me your feedback. I'll take them into consideration, try to improve the course. If you've got a suggestion, please go ahead and provide me that. Definitely, it does matter and I'll take it into consideration. Questions? Yes, please. You can go ahead and ask your questions within the message box. I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as I get time. Thank you. I'm deeply hoping that this course helps you to achieve your goals and provide you the hints and tips that you need for whether passing MB300 exam or learning more about the features within the product and apply them into your work. If you're just starting to learn F&O, there is another course, which is the first part of MB300 course, and in there, many basics and concepts have been discussed. Please look into the What You Learned section as well as the description of the course. If you're already familiar with the concepts and topics that have been discussed, then you can skip it. Otherwise, it's much more recommended to first watch that one and then continue with this course in order to encompass all the required materials that will be part of MB300 exam. In the next video, we're going to see what contents are included within this course. Are you ready? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. Within this session, we're going to discuss about the objectives of this course. So we're going to kick off this course with a topic called personalization. So Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations allows you to personalize the UI that you are working with, from the very basic modifications such as changing the colors, themes, up until more complex modifications such as adding a new field to your UI, whether it's on your grid or on your form, and then save it, or even integrating it with Power Apps applications. So within this module, actually, we're going to focus on the differentiation between personalization and customizations that will be often heard within an F&O implementation project. We're going to learn about user options and how it allows you to personalize your UI. Then we're going to focus on implicit and explicit personalizations, and we'll see them together. We then see how we can personalize the workspaces and dashboards. And at the end, we're going to learn how we can administrate the personalizations. All right? So these are the topics will be covered within this module. In the next module, we're going to continue with common integration that exists within F&O. So as you might know, Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation has a nice integration with Microsoft Office. Among those applications, we're going to focus on Excel add-ins, and then we're going to learn about Excel Workbook Designer, and we'll see how we can pull data from F&O into Excel and how we can publish the changes back into F&O. In the third module, we're going to learn about data integration. And then within that, we'll learn what do we call data integration. We're going to have an overview on that. And then we'll see what are the available integration strategies within F&O. We'll continue with learning about data management workspace and the features and capabilities that are in there. And then ultimately, we're going to focus on a specific topic on execution unit, level, and sequence for the scenarios when we have multiple entities that will be moved across whether legal entities or between F&O application and other systems. In Module 4, we're going to start talking about a very interesting topic, which many of you have asked me within the messages to talk about. It's about lifecycle service, or also known as LCS. So within this module, we're going to cover almost everything about LCS. We'll start with what exactly LCS is and for what reason it's being created. How can we manage project implementation through LCS? Then we'll learn how we can deploy environments and how many environments in general we might have. At the end, we're going to discuss about another tool that LCS offers, which is called Asset Library, and we'll see how it's going to be used within F&O implementation. The next tool that is offered within LCS is called Business Process Modeler, or BPM, and we see that how we can create our processes and model them, store them in BPM as a repository for our process models. The next tool within LCS is Task Recorder. Task Recorder is a tool that you can use to record actions that you could take in the product user interface. Within this module, we're going to learn how to create a task guide and how you can save your records in Business Process Modeler in LCS. We're going to see all the details about that within that module. Then you're going to learn about LCS issue search and support. Issue search help us to find the existing solutions and workarounds for known issues in F&O apps. And we also are able to create some support tickets for the problems or issues that haven't been reported yet. And then ultimately, we're going to learn how to get product updates and releases that Microsoft is releasing, and then upgrade our environments by those updates. Next feature will be F&O mobile app. We'll introduce the mobile app that exists for finance and operations, and then we're going to have an overview of expense management mobile app. We'll look into the functionalities and features within that expense management, and then ultimately we'll create a new mobile app for customer management from scratch to learn how to use the mobile app designer. We will be also looking at reporting within finance and operation. We'll learn the different reporting tools available within the product. We'll focus on exploring financial reports, and we'll learn how to generate reports. And then we'll work a little bit with Report Designer in order to create a new report and get familiar with report building blocks. And then last but not least would be batch jobs. Within this topic, we're going to learn what a batch job is, where to be used, what are the framework components for a batch job, what is the batch processing of a report, for example, how we can set up an alert, and what is the notion of job sequencing within a batch job. Now, if you can agree with me, any of those features or tools that we just discussed about, they all are amazing and cool features that Microsoft has offered within its product in the name of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. I'm really, really excited to share whatever I know about those topics with you, and I hope that you're going to enjoy learning all this and then apply them into your day-to-day work. So if you're ready, let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. In today's session, I would like to walk you through Microsoft certifications portal, where you can find any type of certifications in there, and then from there you can decide which direction you want to go after you've passed MB300 exam. So many people ask me, why do we even need to do certifications? So here is the response. So one of the reasons that we need to go and earn some certifications would be because once you have the certification associated to your LinkedIn, that you can claim it on your LinkedIn, obviously, and it's going to be attached to your profile, you will be much more recognized within the market, especially the headhunters who are looking for certain specific roles. They look into those certifications as well. On the other hand, it gives you a great opportunity to look into all different details of each product that not necessarily all individuals working in the domain are aware of. So in order to do that, let's just search for Microsoft Certification Guide, and it redirects you into this page, Microsoft Certifications, Microsoft Docs. If I just click on that, I'll be redirected into Microsoft Certification Portal. What I would suggest to you is scroll down below of the page where it's talking about role-based certifications, and then click on Browse Role-Based Certifications. If I just click on that, you'll see all the certifications in the first shot, and you have a lot of filtrations, such as you can filter the certifications based on the product you're looking for, roles or levels of the certification. You can also choose whether exam or certification, and filter the list based on your own need. For our example, I'm going to go to Dynamics 365 and choose Finance and Operations. Here, it lists few certifications and exams altogether. If you want, you can just click on the certification itself so that it lists just the certifications. So these are the list of available certifications under Finance and Operations. The first one is Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Functional Consultant Associate. Wherever you see the associate with 2-star on the badge, it shows that your knowledge about that particular domain is intermediate. And as you see under each certification, it tells you that what exams you should be passing so that you can earn this badge. And this one shows us that you should pass MB300 exam as well as MB330. So how it works, like this is the one that we just discussed during these two courses together, and then by that you can pass this exam. But beside that, if you are interested in supply chain management, or you have this background anyhow, probably you worked as a supply chain manager or a supply chain user even, and you're interested in being an analyst or functional consultant, definitely you can go and pass MB330, which includes all the details of how you can configure the system for supply chain management, or like how you can implement it in the ERP. So if you pass these two, you're eligible to earn this badge. On the other hand, if you have a development background or you are interested in working as finance and operations apps developer, you can go with this one. Similarly, MB300 should be anyways earned besides the MB500 exam in order to prove that you know how to extend the product and develop within F&O application. And now if you are much more interested in working in manufacturing of ERP, obviously you can choose supply chain management manufacturing functional consultant certification. So you see that Microsoft has split the supply chain management into two different certifications. The first one, which is supply chain management, is much more about like general supply chain management processes and configurations, versus the second one is much more manufacturing aspect of supply chain management. There is another certification available which is designed mainly for beginners, and it's called Dynamics 365 Fundamentals. And if you go within the certification, it says that this has been designed for the people who want to just learn how finance and operations apps fit in within the overall Microsoft ecosystem. All right. What I can tell you is that if you just remove the certification and click on exams so that you can see all the exams together, since you guys have watched MB300 course with me, and as you see, it's been designed for intermediate users, I've started from beginners into kind of intermediate. And the content that is within the certification learning path is much more broader than this one. You've already jumped into intermediate level after you've passed this exam. Now, if you're interested in finance domain, instead of clicking on finance and operation, this time you're going to go under Dynamics 365 and choose finance. And this takes you to this certification, which is finance functional consultant. And similarly, you should pass MB300 exam. And on top of that, you also need MB310, which is much more specific in finance domain, and then about the configuration, all the details on that. Now, let's say you're interested to go to Finance World, and that's where you select this certification. This is where you can see all the details about this certification, and it shows you what are the certification exams you have to pass, and then also the skills that will be measured within this exam. You can download the certification skills outline. It gives you all the details that you are looking for, and then it also has included some learning path, which I found them super useful and so comprehensive. So if you have chance, then after watching these two courses, obviously if you want to broaden your knowledge, it's recommended to go and look into these learning path as well. Each individual, for example, title, if you click on that, has all the details that you might need to learn for that particular exam. Hello guys, before getting started, let me please introduce myself a little bit and give you a brief summary of my technical background. Originally, I'm a software engineer and I have worked for many medium to large companies, and I've analyzed, designed, and developed a lot of softwares for those companies using different tools and applications available in the market, such as .NET, SQL Server, and many more tools. So that was my first phase of career. Then I changed my career path to focus on Dynamics 365, and I started to work as analyst and developer in this product. I was focused on customer engagement at the beginning and then started to look into finance and operations afterward. Recently, I'm more focused on Power Platform. I am currently working as Dynamics 365 Solution Architect. My 2 cents about this product. I believe Dynamics 365 is a great product that Microsoft has offered. It includes a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities and features that without even writing one single line of code, you can have the whole full solution ready and up and running without like very considerable bugs or issues. Within this course, I will combine my own personal experience with Microsoft curriculum in order to make sure that you have access to the right materials and learning path. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. One of the cool features in finance and operation is called personalization. End users are able to personalize their UI based on their own preferences. It starts from very basic settings such as changing the colors or themes of the UI to the more complex ones such as even adding a new field or integrating a Power Apps application to your environment. So this would be our plan for this module. We're going to get an overview of the whole concept and learn about the differentiation between the two terms customization versus personalization. We'll also learn about user options and the capabilities that are in there. We then narrow it down into implicit and explicit personalization concept, where we'll learn how to modify grids, pages, workspaces, dashboard, and then we'll learn about personalization toolbar and more features that are available in there. And then ultimately, we'll look into how we can integrate a Power Apps application into our F&O environment. At the end of this module, we'll learn how we can administrate the personalizations, by how we can import or export personalization and share the personalization among the people in our company. Are you ready? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. Finance and Operations app allows you to personalize the user interface of your environment. By personalizing the UI, you can empower employees of an organization to work more efficiently. And personalization in general helps department managers to enforce a specific user interface for their staff without a need for customization. For this session, let's first have a brief definition about the two terms of customization and personalization, which you hear them a lot when you're implementing finance and operation ERP. Now first, customization. What is a customization? The term customization means that you as a functional consultant have already identified a gap in your customer's requirements, and now you're proposing a solution to be created to address the gap within finance and operation app. You might ask what a gap is. A gap in general is a difference between systems' standard behavior about any subject matter versus the customer's actual need. In this situation, based on the requirement, you might decide to extend the functionality of finance and operations apps by perhaps creating new entities, user interfaces, tables, and more. That's where the developer team will come into the picture to identify the entities that need to be extended and possibly create new entities to find a solution that addresses the gap. Now, what is personalization? So in personalization, you change user interface by, for example, adding or removing fields to meet a customer's requirement, which may be achieved by using the built-in personalization feature of Finance and Operations app. Okay? The main goal of personalization is to deliver content and functionality that matches a specific role, user, or group of users' needs without customizing Finance and Operations app. Now, if you want to compare the two concepts, customization needs development versus personalization does not need it. Customization should be done by a developer versus personalization can be done by a BA or functional consultant. Customization takes more time and higher cost accordingly, versus personalization can be done in lesser time and lower cost. So at the end, what is the general recommendation? General recommendation is always try to avoid customization and extensions and use personalization where possible. This is because customization and extensions can result in higher costs during implementation. It's important to point out that not many business users change default settings. Often, it is the manager of each department of your customer's business that needs a specific user interface or functionality to be imposed for their staff. And at the end, always keep in mind that customizations and extensions, as well as personalization, require work and maintenance over time. Hello and welcome to this session. So now let's review one of the options that are available in F&O by which you can set up your environment based on your own preferences. You can go on the gear button here that is called settings. I'll click on that one. The first option is user options. If I click on that one, you will see that you're redirected to the options page, which it contains 4 tabs: visual, preferences, accounts, and workflow. The first one, which is visual, allows you to choose color, theme, and the size of elements. So for now, my initial color has been set into blue. I can change it, for example, to green. You might notice my header color has changed to green. If I close it, it's going to be even more tangible. You see the theme has changed to green. I'm going to go back to where I was. This option is very helpful when you have different environments and you want to differentiate them based on the colors. So that, for example, when you are in UAT environment, it's in green. When you are in production environment, it's red. So that if you're doing any customizations or you're doing some testing, you can quickly identify in which environment you are. And also I can play with the size of the elements. So if I go with, for example, this is now it's set to the smaller size. If I wanted to make them a little bit larger, I can click on larger button. And if I close this out, you will see the tiles are a little bit bigger. Even the calendars elements are a little bit bigger. I'm going to get it back to default value. In the preferences tab, you're able to configure your environment based on your own preferences. For example, as you notice in the company field, I have the default value of DAT. So it means that anytime when I open my F&O environment, the DAT company will be defaulted. Now I want to change it to, for example, USMF, okay? I should save it. I'm going to go back into this environment. I'm going to remove all the selection of the company value, and I'll keep just the mode as trial and click on enter button. You see that my default company is set into USMF this time. You can also change your landing or initial page. Your initial page by default is set into default dashboard, but there are other options available for you that based on your own need you can change your initial page. Let's do a quick test. I'm going to set it into system administration, save, go back into the other page, remove the rest of configuration and let the system load the new configuration that I've set up. And you see that the landing page is system administration this time. So we can also set our default view edit mode. This option allows you to select between auto, view, and edit. The default option is auto. When you change this option to view, all forms by default will open in view only mode. This is useful for users who do not typically make changes to the system, such as system administrators. The users must then click the edit button to make any changes. Okay, if I go back, for example, let's say I'm going to open accounts payable, all vendors. You see that if I want to edit any row, I have to click on the edit button. However, if it's set into edit, let's do a quick test. Refresh my page. You've noticed that my grid is in edit mode and I'm able to type in and make my modification, right? Language and country region preferences. On this fast tab, you can control settings for language, date, time, and number format, time zone, and country region the users will operate with. Changing these selections will only change how the user interface appears to the selected user, not how the data is stored in the database. Let's do a quick test on changing the language. It's very powerful and it has a lot of translation based on different languages. These are the available languages in the system and you can choose any of those and all the elements will be translated based on selected language. For now, let's choose French. Click on save. For this change, you need to refresh the page, whether Control F5 or using this button as refresh. You see my all elements are translated into French. I'm going to bring it back into English and save it. You can also even control the enable document handling. This option determines whether the paperclip icon with document handling is activated for the selected user or not. When the option is enabled, you can see a number on the paperclip icon that indicates the number of attachments for a selected document. Let's just look at a quick test in here what I'm referring to. I'm going to go to all accounts payable, all purchase orders. If I go under my purchase order, you see that I have an attachment icon appearing here with a number of 1, which indicates that there is 1 attachment attached to this document. If I click on it, I'm able to see that doc. Okay. Now I'm gonna toggle this to no and say that disabling the feature, save, go back in the environment and refresh the page to reflect the changes that we've made. This time, if I go on my purchase order, you will see that I do not see any number beside the attachment file. However, we already know that there is an attachment to it. And if I click on the attachment in here, you will see that it says document handling is inactive for this user. You can also set up the account information. Within this tab, you can see a variety of options that control account functions, such as which account in the Active Directory it's linked to and how emailing electronic signatures are controlled for user accounts. These settings are typically controlled by administrator of the system. We can also adjust our username and other account-related options on this page. All right, you see that I can even identify the sender's email, email provider ID, or any other setup. The last option is workflow. It allows us to control how notifications for workflow will be delivered. For example, we can say send notification in email, yes or no, send notification to Action Center, or line item workflow notification type that you can choose, for example, individual line item type or grouped ones. And by using Delegation Fast tab, you have the possibility to delegate any workflow that is assigned to you to be done by somebody else within a specific period of time that you define in here. You can control exactly which workflows, and then you choose the name of your workflow, let's say. For example, I'm going to choose, let's say, travel requisition, and time periods that you want to delegate it, and you will choose to whom you want to delegate it and enable it, right? Usage data in the user options is one of the topics that usually dedicate some questions in MB300 exam, and I would like to discuss it further with you. As you work with FNO product, you will realize that usually many of your selections within several pages, reports, batch jobs, or criteria that you set, for example, for your reports, they all get saved so that you can use the system more easily next time, all right? The selections that are saved will be specific for you as a user and have no effect on the way the system works. For instance, in the scenarios where a user complains about some strange behavior within the application, or for example, let's say they're experiencing some performance issues in some UIs, you can come into the user options and going on the usage data, by which you can reset data and delete all user-specific selections, okay, within the system. If you go under several tabs that exist under usage data, you will see all the selections that are saved for you. For example, if you have anything saved as a range, which is typically filters and searches in forms and ranges in reports, you can see them listed in here. Or report selections, it indicates a criteria specified in dialogues that initiate reports, or jobs or record templates, personalizations, or form selections, and also all usage data. If you click on the reset usage data, all these saved data will be removed. Now, if you go on the personalization, you'll see all the personalizations that have been set up for each form per each individual user. If somebody is just complaining about sales order, I'm not going to go and delete all the personalizations he has on all the forms. I would just go, for example, choose the sales order form in here and delete the personalization for that particular form. Now, in our next sessions, we're going to learn a little bit more detail about implicit and explicit personalizations. See you there. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we're going to discuss about restricted personalization access, which is formerly known as implicit personalization in FNO. Finance and Operations app keeps track of any adjustment you do on some elements that exist on user interface, such as grid, fast tab, fact box, action pane, or navigation pane. If you do any adjustment on any of these items, it's going to stay the same next time when you open the application. So now, for example, I'm going to show you what you can do for grid, okay? So let's say if in the grid change the size of any column, it's going to stay the same size next time when you open it. As well as if in the quick filter you select any field in the field selector, next time that field will be defaulted. For instance, I type AC and I choose name from the field selector, and the grid gets filtered. So now if I refresh my page, you'll see that in my quick filter, in the field selector, the field name is defaulted. Similar to quick filter, if I do any filtration on, for example, let's say vendor hold, if I say that it's not, no, you will see that next time if I refresh my page, if I go on the vendor hold, you will see that the operator is set into is not. However, in the default is usually is exactly. Now, a similar feature applies on fast tabs. Now I'm in vendor account page. For example, if I expand some of the fast tabs that are initially collapsed, this will be saved. As well as in the fact boxes, if you notice, in the initial status, the fact boxes are collapsed. And if I just expand it, next time when I refresh my page to reload the page, you will see that those adjustments are saved. I'm going to go back in my vendor account page, and you'll see that the payment that I expanded, or tax 1099, and also the fact boxes are still expanded. The other area is action pane. You can collapse it, and if I refresh my page, you will see that my action panes are all collapsed. And if I want to get them back to the normal, which is expanded, I can pin them. And then navigation pane. Similarly, if you want to keep the navigation always available in here, I can pin it. So within this section, we review the implicit personalization. In the next section, we're going to discuss about explicit personalization. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this section, we're going to discuss about full personalization access, which was formerly known as explicit personalization. Essentially, what full personalization is all about is that you can modify your user interface or data entry pages in the way that you need. Modifications such as changing the label of a field, hiding a field, or let's say adding a field into fast tab summary, or many other type of options. Let's see within the system how we can do these type of personalizations. So now let's first get familiar with shortcut menu options. In FNO application, wherever you are, if you right-click on any elements of the page, you would get an option of personalization. In this example, I've right-clicked on quick filter section, which this is the custom filter group, which is the name of the object on application object tree, right? If I click now on that one, I would see the available actions or functionalities that I can apply on my quick filter, for example. I can hide it, I can skip it when there is a tab, for example. When you press the tab, usually you will get some sequences. You can skip it from that tab sequence. You can lock it always being in there, or even I can add a new field in there, okay? So if I click on that one, it will add me a new field from the customer entity. For example, I can add, let's say, credit limit as well here. If I update it, it's going to appear on my quick filter section, right? Similarly, for example, if I am in a grid, if I right click on any column, I would have access to the personalization of that column, and I'll be able to hide or unhide the column, or even skip the column when the tab sequence works. This time I'm in a detail page of a vendor account. If I right click on any existing field, let's say I clicked on number of employees for this particular account, and I click on personalize this field, I can easily hide it or unhide it. I can skip it or unskip it. What it means, if I click on the skip button here, it removes the element from the page's keyboard tab sequence, all right? So if you do that when you are using the tab sequence, it will skip that particular field. You can lock or unlock the field, by which you can make the field editable or not editable. There is another item which is show in header. If you click on show in header for any field, let's say I did it for number of employees, if the field is in a fast tab similar to this one, the field will appear in the summary of the fast tab. But for reflection of this change, you need to refresh your page. Again, I go to my detail page, and you see that this time the number of employees have been shown up in summary of general fast tab. If you want to make multiple changes to a page, or changes that aren't available through other mechanism, if you want, for example, to reorder the elements or other customization you would like to do on your user interface, you are able to use personalization toolbar. This is my favorite personalization style in FNO. And you can whether click on Control-Shift-P to have the toolbar available for you, or you can just right click on any element. Let's say in this one, if I click on the personalize, you will see that it says personalize this page, and again it will show me the personalization toolbar. The next way to access the personalization toolbar is going to any page you are in. You can go in the options tab that exists in your action pane and go to the personalize and personalize this page. So let's learn about the action items that exist on the toolbar. So select, it always takes me to the initial state that I had, and I can select the object I would like to make personalization for. So as you see, I've selected the group, for example, element, and I right click on it, and then now I click on any actions that are available in the personalize menu options. The next item is hide, okay? If you want, for example, to hide many fields together, you can just click on the hide button here, and as you see, all the fields that I had hidden them earlier, they appear again, and I can bring them back. Or this time I want to hide address book, which I don't want to do so, but I just wanted to demonstrate it to you. Next feature is add a field. Depending on the entity that I am in, I can select any field that belongs to that entity. These are the list of the whole fields that exist within this entity. If you know the name of the field, you can easily just search for it using Grid's search feature, and then find the name of the field you are looking for. If you do not know, you can just scroll through the grid and find the one that you are looking for. For now, I want to see who is creating this record. I wanted to know the owner or created by the user of this, for example, record. All right, so I clicked on the created by. I think I did it, but it didn't get my change. Created, apply, and I just choose this created by and update my page. As you've noticed, the created by field has been added to my fast tab. Now I would like to do something more interesting. Let's say there is a request from accounts payable manager saying that, you know what, I would like to categorize my vendors to know whether they are likable or not likable for certain reasons. I see that the likable field is totally missed in this information. And that's where I think that probably I can do something interesting for him to add a new field. The cool thing is that it is definitely a case that you can consider customization, but very quickly you can do this through personalization as well by going to, for example, personalize in here and then add a field similar to what we did it earlier. And this time, instead of selecting from the list, I'm going to click on the create new field. So now I'm going to go to the create new field, and I would choose my table name as vendors, and the name prefix would be is preferable. The type would be checklist. And as you see, the field name is preferable _ custom. It's better for the name prefix to keep it as without space, and then I'll call it is preferable vendor. I think I didn't spell it well. Preferable, yeah. And even you can have some tooltips for that field. I would say indicates whether the vendor is preferable for us. Okay, and then this appears as a tooltip. And I click on save. System asks me to confirm whether I would like to add this new field to the vent table, since this vent table would be modified, and I would say yes. In order to be able to edit this field, you do need to refresh your page. And once you've done that, you're even able to, for example, toggle to yes and save it, and this will be saved into a database. Since now you are changing something in the database and this field has been added in there, it's very important to know that we do not want to open this feature for everybody in the team. If you want to have governance around your tables and entities and fields, then definitely there should be like few people who are eligible to do these type of changes. So the next item is move. Okay, if I click on the move button here, I can rearrange the elements and their sequences. If I, for example, would like to move my DUNS number into, for example, after the vendor account, I'm going to click on the element that I would like to move it, and then I move it till the red line appears, and then I can drop it. Okay, so I dragged it and dropped it, but it's a little bit tricky. You need just to play with it a few times to get more familiar with it, and that red line gives you the idea where the element will be landed at the end. Next item, it's key, which we've already seen it earlier. It just removes the focus from the element when the tab sequence is working. Showing header, similar to what we've done for number of employees, it will be appearing on the summary of the tab. Lock will make them read-only. Now, if you click on the 3 button in the toolbar, there are other options available in there, which we're going to look into them. By first option, you can add a Power Apps application into your page. If you already have a Power App application ready and you would like to expose it through your page, you can use this item. Let's do a quick test together to see this amazing feature. So very quickly, I've designed a Canvas app to just for demonstration. It includes just one page, and we would like to expose it into our FNO page. Let's do it. In order to get to my application, I'm going to enter the URL of make.powerapps.com, and it takes me to the Power Apps environment. And from there, I'm going to click on the apps icon so that I can see the list of my applications. So now this is my app. Now let's go to our vendor page and add this application into our page. So now I click on add an app from Power Apps, and I should choose where I would like to add this one. Let's say I would like to put it in here, and it asks me for your information. I put, for example, I call it like Learn Dynamics app, and then I need to provide the app ID. I'll go to my application on my Power Apps environment, and then I click on the details, and there is an app ID associated to each application you generate in Power Apps. So I'll take this app ID, and I provide it in the app ID input text. You also even have the feasibility to assign these Power Apps just for specific legal entities, not for all. For now, I just leave it for all legal entities, and I click on insert. So as you see, based on the warning, I need to reload my page so that my application appears on the vendor page. So I'm going to refresh my page, go back to my detail page, and here we go. We have our app in our vendor page. And obviously, this is an amazing feature. When you have integrations with FNO, you can create your individual apps and even communicate it with FNO by having some parameters on your Power Apps page where you are passing information into FNO or reading some information from FNO. It's really a pretty cool feature. If you want to clear any personalization you've done for this page, you can easily just click on the clear, and it will remove any adjustment you've done on your interface. And the last but not least items are import and export. So any personalization that you do on your own environment is feasible to export it as an XML file. If I open this up, you see that any customizations we've done is being captured in as an XML file here that easily can be used by other users through import button. So you just need to send them the exported XML file, and they can easily just go clicking on import button and browse and bring the file that you have shared with them. And they will have the personalization on their environment as well. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we're going to learn how we can personalize the workspaces or dashboards. Let's say if I go to the list of the workspaces, I'm going to go into vendor invoice entry just as an example. And this is what I see within this workspace, right? As you see, there is no notion of a list of products or all products here. What I would like to do is to just add another link to this page as the list of products. Let's say they are doing the purchase orders. Like at this moment when they are in this page, they need also to see the list of the products instead of going to the modules and finding the products information page. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this page, and I'm going to go back in my product information management, and I'm going to open the all release products list. Most of the pages that include lists, if you go under the options and under the personalization, you see these add to workspace item available as well. So if I click on this add to workspace, it allows me to choose the workspace to which I would like to add this list. So I'm going to choose vendor invoice entry, and you should also define what type of presentation it will look like. Remember, these were, for example, the tiles, this is list, and these are links. So we can choose any of those, right? So I would put it as a link because it doesn't make sense to have it as a title. It doesn't have any, for example, aggregation that I would like to have on the products. I'll keep it as a link, and I say configure. And in which group name? So let me just take you back to the list here. You see that I have several groups available. I have posted invoices, vendors, purchase orders, prepayments. Now I would like to add a new group as a product and put my list under that products as a new group name. Okay, I say okay. Now I'm going to go here and refresh my page. So you see that the release product details has been added to my workspace. We can even personalize our default dashboard. So similar to the rest of the elements, you're able to personalize this dashboard as well. I'll click on personalize tile page container. The cool thing in here is that you are able to add a workspace on the dashboard. And if I go down below, you will see that a new workspace has been created for me. So similar to the rest of the elements, if I want to rename it, let's say I call it product management workspace just to differentiate if it already exists. And then I can go in my product list and assign it to this workspace. Just do a test. Let's see if it's accessible in there as well. Let's go to the product information management in the release products. and then going to the Add to Workspace, I say this time Add it to Product Management Workspace, and I would like to have it as a list configure. In here, I will choose what is the list style, and I would choose tabular up to 8 columns. And as you see, already 6 fields have been selected for me, and I say, okay, I'll go back in my other page, and I just close this out so that it takes me to my dashboard, and I click on Product Management. You see that this list has been created within the newly created workspace. Sounds cool, right? Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we'll learn how we can manage our personalizations and administrate them within F&O product. After you personalize a page, you can share your personalization with other users by exporting the personalized page. Remember, we saw together. You can then ask other users to open the personalized page and import the personalization file that you created. Alternatively, you can give your personalization to a user who has administrator privileges. That user can then apply your personalization file to many users at the same time. Users who have administrator privileges can also manage personalization for other users on the personalization page. Now let's see how we can do it in the system. Let's go to the System Administration, Setup, and open the personalization page. So as you see in this form, you have 4 tabs: Apply, Clear, Users, and System Settings. In the first one, if you look into the all users, you can see the roles that are in the system. Here, it allows us, for example, for any role, whether to apply any personalization for all of the users by using the select existing personalization or import personalizations from a file. We can apply it for all the people that are in that role, or we can just do it for any users that we would need based on the requirement. The second tab is Clear, by which you can remove the personalizations for any individual page. It shows us the list of the pages in the system and the users that personalizations for that page should be removed for them. Okay, we're going to go in, for example, select the page, click on the user, and then clear the personalization. So in the third tab, which is users, you have the ability to manage personalizations per user. What it does, it allows us to pick any user to see the list of all pages that this user has personalization. For example, I'm going to choose my own admin user, and you will see that I'm able to whether remove permission for personalization or just grant explicit personalization to that particular user for any specific page. Or I can remove everything by clicking on clear. And ultimately, we have the last tab, System Settings, by which you can define whether to enable or disable the personalizations for the environments. Okay, probably you might enable personalization for dev and UAT, but remove it from or disable it from production environment because you don't want whoever logs in is able to change any user interface. These are the policies that should be defined within your organization. And similarly, if you want to delete whatever personalizations have been done within the system, you can just delete them in one shot by clicking on this link. And at the end, you are able to update the page's titles by clicking on Update Titles to get back to the initial value before personalization is done. Hello and welcome to this session. In this module, I'm going to show you one of the most popular Microsoft Office products that is very well integrated with finance and operation application. We're going to discuss about Excel add-in. This is a good news for Excel lovers who are more comfortable with Excel user interface and would like to manipulate the system's data within Excel sheets rather than editing or adding records directly inside F&O environment. Then we're going to look into Excel Workbook Designer, and we see that how we can customize the Excel workbooks using this tool that Microsoft has embedded into F&O application. Are you an Excel lover too? So let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. So within this session, we're going to learn about Excel add-in that is integrated with Finance and Operation application. This feature is available in almost all of the pages of Finance and Operation. This feature allows you to load your data into Excel sheet in two different ways. First scenario is to load or export your data from F&O into Excel in one way, which is called static. Okay, so if you see, the data can be pushed from F&O into Excel. Second option is called Open in Excel, which it allows you to load your data from F&O into Excel and then publish it back from Excel into F&O. It's a very cool feature for the people who are more comfortable working with Excel than other applications, and it can enhance their productivity. In order to show you the capabilities of the system, I'm going to take you to Accounts Receivable and All Customers. I'm going to click on All Customers. Okay, now we are in All Customers page. As you see, there is an icon in right top corner of the page, which it says Open in Microsoft Office. If I click on the Open in Microsoft Office button, you will see that I will have several options. The static format of the data exported into Excel is usually available in the Export to Excel in here, or you can easily right-click on the columns on your read and click on Export All Rows. Any of those will work the same, and you can export your data into your Excel sheet. Now I just click the one that was available under my Open in Excel. If I open the Excel sheet in here, you'll see the list of my customers in the Excel file. The cool one is Open in Excel. Okay, so if I just go in here and open one of these existing templates that lists the customers in Excel sheet, first you need to download the file, and now I'm going to open the file. So as you see at the first glance, I wouldn't be able to see anything unless I click on Enable Editing button. The Data Connector Excel add-in tries to connect to Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations application. If it's your first time you're opening it, there is a signing and authentication process which requires you to sign in to the F&O application using the same credentials that you use for connecting to your F&O application. Usually in the first attempts, this process takes a few minutes of time, so it's normal. But later, this doesn't take a lot of time, and it's going to connect to you right away. So as you see, the customer information is listed in this Excel sheet. So as you've noticed, not only the data is listed in here, but also you have the column names and all the fields that appear in the customer definition page. So now the beauty of this integration is that if I add a new record in this Excel sheet and click on Publish button here, that new record will be added in F&O application. So let's do a quick test in here. I'm going to insert, for example, I'll call it US demo. And the currency, I will do it as USD. The customer group, I will take one of the existing one, for example, number 10. For this one, I'm going to call it Demo Excel Add-in. And the search name is usually similar to the name without delimiter. And for party type, I choose organization. And I will provide 10 as number of employees. There is another cool thing that, if you've noticed, is that lookup fields that include text value list. The values and options that are available in that list will appear in the data connector. For instance, for ABC code, I see these values and I'm going to select A and I'll click on publish. So in the status bar, we see that the publish was successful and the workbook was updated. If there is any error, for example, if there is any mandatory field that I should have provided and I hadn't provided it, system usually gives meaningful errors, which we can fix them. Now I'm back in my environment. I'm going to search for a demo that we just created together, and you see that this is the account we created. Let's go to the detail page, see the rest of the fields that we've provided. For example, ABC code has a value, or number of employees, as you see, it has 10 number of employees. So the integration works both ways, right? So now if I change, for example, ABC code into B, classification group into 2, and then save it, if I go back in my Excel sheet and refresh my list, I would see the reflection of my changes on my accounts. So now I'm in my Excel sheet. I'm going to go and click on the refresh button to apply the changes from F&O into my Excel. So if I search for demo, I will remove all and I'll just keep the US demo. You will see that the ABC code is updated to B. Okay, pretty cool, right? Now let's be familiar with Data Connector a little bit more. We see two items, source and field name. Source name is the label of entity that provides data for the selected data table. And the field name is the label of the field that provides data for the selected data table column. If you hover over the names, you see that the field name gets updated. Asterisk beside any field indicates that this field is a mandatory field. New button does the same thing if you insert a new row. So if I click on the new, a new row will be selected so that you can provide your information. Refresh button, we already saw the use of it. Publish as well. Filtration, if you click on the filter button, it allows you to filter your records based on any fields, whether it exists, or you can add extra fields to do filtration on. Please note that you have all the capabilities of Excel besides what Data Connector is offering here. Okay, so not only you can use this filtration and make complex queries, but also you have the initial filtration on your columns as well. And the last button is design, which allows you to modify the data based on what you wanted to see, like the schema of the data, let's say the name of the fields, sequence of the fields, or adding even extra fields. So if I click on the design, you will see that initially these customer definitions, which is binded to this workbook, it's binded to customer-based data entity, all right? And if you see entity data source details, the label is customer definitions, and the name of the entity is customer base. Let's go to the previous page. Now let's see how we can edit these customer definitions. If I click on the edit button, I see some information available for me. One of them is the name of entity data source that is not editable. You can check or uncheck refresh after publish. It means that every time when you publish, it also enforces the refresh of the data in the workbook. We have a section called available fields. These are the list of fields that exist within this entity data source, but they are not part of the workbook yet, and you can add them if you require. Selected fields are the fields that are part of this workbook. Okay, so let's do a small test in here. I'm going to choose another field that all of the customers have value for it, and it's a payment terms. Let's add this to our selected fields. Let's update it, and you see that the field has been added to my list, and the data is also refreshed, and it shows me the data. If you didn't see your data, don't forget that you have always the possibility to refresh your data and enforce to pull the data from FNO into your Excel sheet. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we're going to learn about Excel Workbook Designer. So in addition to using the design button in the Excel add-in, which we saw previously in the previous session, you can use the Excel Workbook Designer page to design an editable custom export workbook that contains an entity and a set of fields. In order to open the Workbook Designer, we should go under the Common module. Under the Common section, we have Office Integration, and the first option is Excel Workbook Designer. So now I'm in the Excel Workbook Designer. As you see, this page provides an easy way to get a generated opening Excel experience for an entity. These are the list of the entities that exist within the system. If you recall, we had worked with customer base. I think I shouldn't provide any space for the name of the entity, of course. And if I click on this and then hover my mouse on the button, you see my entity has been shown up in the list. And these are the list of the fields available in this entity from which I can select my fields. And I should just go one by one or select some of them or even push all of them in the selected fields. I'm going to go and choose customer account, company, currency, and customer group. Then I can click on the create workbook, and similar to the previous experience, we're going to download the Excel file, and I'm going to open my Excel file. So similar to a previous session, I should click on the enable editing so that the data connector starts to connect to my environment. And once it's connected, you see that my data get listed in here. And similar to previous, you can take any action based on your own need within data connector and the Excel sheet that you've opened. The other capability that Excel Workbook Designer provides to us is a mechanism with a blank workbook that contains just the Excel app and a pointer to the server. Let's do it together. I'm going to download my Excel sheet and open it. So as you see, this Excel file is empty. If I click on enable editing, you see that the data connector tries to connect to my server, and now I have the ability to go on design and, for example, design the Excel sheet based on my own needs from the different entity data sources. I'm going to add table, let's say customer. You can type it quickly and it's going to go on the record. For example, it was customer definition, should be here. They are sorted alphabetically, so I'm going to choose this one and I'm going to say next, and then I'm going to add my fields. Okay, and then done. Yes, my fields are added in there, and now if I want to load the data into my Excel file, I'm going to refresh the page. There you go. Hey guys, welcome to this module. In this module, we're going to learn about Lifecycle Service, which is a repository of tools and features that allows you to manage finance and operations apps in the Microsoft Azure Cloud or on-premises. We're going to start learning about LCS by looking at the overall functionality and tools available within LCS. So this will be our plan. First, we're going to learn what is LCS, and we'll understand the functionality and tools of Lifecycle Services for finance and operations apps. Then we're going to learn about the project implementation and how we can create a new project and what are the basic setups and configurations that should be done for a project implementation. Then we're going to learn step-by-step configuration in order to deploy an environment. We then learn about asset libraries, and we'll learn how to reuse existing assets, copy and share data, and we'll get familiar with different asset types. We'll then learn about Business Process Modeler tool that exists in LCS, and we'll learn how we can identify processes and store them in Business Process Modeler. We then learn what is a task recorder functionality and how it's integrated with Business Process Modeler. The next topic that we'll learn about is run the LCS issue search tool and analyze results, and then how we can get support from Microsoft for any kind of aspects of finance and operations application. And at the end, we're going to learn how we can get product update and what are the terms and acronyms that are being used within product updates that we will be hearing them a lot during any project implementation for finance and operations. So are you interested in learning all these topics? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, we're going to learn what Lifecycle Services is, which is also known as LCS. So Lifecycle Services in general is the central repository for most of the tools that you use to prepare and deploy a project for finance and operations apps. LCS is a cloud-based collaboration where all the key information about a project is stored. This information can include information about project phases and a collective repository named the Asset Library. All this information can be made available to project members. The LCS project workspace provides an outlined methodology showing each phase of your project and provides high-level milestones that are used to track deliverables and project goals. As the project progresses, environments can be deployed from within LCS. The project deployment tools allow environments of different size to be deployed and controlled from within the project. The unified control of cloud-based environments within LCS allows environments deployed from within LCS to be monitored and controlled. LCS provides environment-aware tools to search for issues that may be occurring within the environment, search for knowledge-based issues with known fixes, and apply the fixes to the environments in a controlled manner. So now in next session, let's dive in the system and see how LCS looks like. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, we're going to look into LCS application. In order to get into the LCS environment, you should go into lcs.dynamics.com. And once you're in this page, you can sign into your environment using the FNO credentials that you use for connecting to FNO. I'm going to click on sign in and we'll choose my account. So now I'm in LCS environment. So in general, Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations utilizes LCS to manage projects. You can create multiple projects in the Lifecycle Services for different purposes. For example, an implementation project provides access to environments that are part of the Finance and Operations offer and requires an active subscription. Let's explore the differences. An implementation project can be manually created in LCS. As you see, these are the recent projects, and there is a new button in here where you can create a project. So I'm going to click on this one. And within this area, you can provide demo project, name, and description. You can provide the description of your project. And then from the pick list, you can pick your product. Okay, so these are the available products under my subscription. I'm going to choose Finance and Operations. And then you can choose the product version and then the industry of your organization or your project. I'm going to choose educational. And then you can import roles and users from any existing projects. I'm going to say no because I would like to add my users manually. Then I click on create. So the creation of the project in my environment is already done. So now from any channel that your project was created, now there are other steps that you can take and you can make some modifications on your project. So here you see the list of your projects. If you click on any of the projects, you're back into your methodology page, okay? Within this page, since the implementation project has been selected, the methodology has been defined as analysis phase, design and development phase, test, deploy, and operate. And within each phase, there are several tasks that should be performed. And these are recommendations from Microsoft, meaning that in the analysis phase, which should be your first phase of project onboarding, is you have to complete LCS project configuration. Then you should invite your project team, sign up for ProQ project quality monitoring, deploy demo environment, and many other tasks. And once you've accomplished any of these tasks, you can say check, and the status will be modified into done. So the only way to get to the next phase is if you finished and completed all the tasks in previous phase, all right? So in my example, as you see, we've done design and develop, and we've already passed the tests, and then we deployed our configuration in the different environments, and now it's in operating phase. And you can even modify the milestone for each phase by clicking on this diamond here and then click on edit. Then by this, you can see the progression of your project. We can access the subscriptions that are available in our environments by clicking on subscriptions available. This shows us what are the existing service plans and what was the assigned date and how many of each licenses we already have. If you open this hamburger icon on top of the page, you see that there are several tools available that you can use them for different purposes. The first thing is project settings. If you click on that one, it allows you to modify some of the settings or definitions for your project. In the project overview tab, you can rename the name of your project or the description, and once your changes are done, then you can click on the save button. The next tab is organizations and ownership. If you have an administrator role, then you can transfer your project, such as in the event of corporate restructuring. In the SharePoint online library, you can also connect your LCS project to a SharePoint library for storing and connecting to documentation. This might be useful for storing project plan related to the implementation. The next thing that you should do is to set up the Visual Studio Team Services. It allows you to track your work items for the project, track support incidents, and work items that deploy build agents for the build environments. Okay? And also at the end in Azure Connectors, you can add or authorize an Azure connector for cloud-hosted deployments. So after you've set up your project, it's time to add project users. So we're going to go and choose the project. I'm going to click on hamburger icon and click on project users. Here, you can enter the email alias of the person you want to invite and assign the security role. You can invite users to your project even if they're not users in your customer tenant. For example, you can invite an implementation partner by using the name at partnername.com, right? If I just click on the add button there, you can provide the name of the user and the email address. If, for example, it is partner, you can put at partnername.com, right? And then invite it. Once the preliminary setup of the project is done, it is time to deploy the environment. In the next session, we'll see how we can deploy an environment. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we're going to learn how we can deploy an environment and get finance and operations up and running. With the purchase of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations subscription, 2 standard environments are included by default. One Tier 2 sandbox for UAT or user acceptance testing environment, also called pre-prod, and one production environment with high availability. Any additional environments can be purchased as add-ons. Within this session, I would like to demonstrate to you the steps of deployments for any of these environments. Since I do not want to apply it in my own environment, I'll be using some screenshots that I gathered from Microsoft Documentation Center, and it shows you step by step the process, which is very straightforward. You just need to be familiar with the terminologies and the parameters that should be set for deployment request. So once you are in the project implementation page, select the type of environment you want to deploy, and then click on corresponding configure button. This will start a wizard that guides you through the steps to deploy the environment. So in General tab, you can enter a unique name and choose your data center that is closest to your most important user groups, and then click Next. So in the Supported Version tab, click on Change Selected Topology. Choose the deployment topology, which includes the application and platform version. Then click Next. So in the Customize Solution Asset tab, select which Power BI report should be deployed, GR configuration and BPM library that you want to start with. Then click Next. About GR configuration and BPM, we'll discuss it in our asset library session. In this stage, you can decide whether to enable a product recommendation or disable it, and then click Next. If you want to see this environment on Dynamics 365 homepage, you can select Enable, and then click Next. Environment can be provisioned with or without demo dataset. Decide if you want to do it. In environment notifications, you must specify at least 2 email addresses for users who will receive notifications about planned or unplanned servicing events, maintenance, and downtimes. And then click Next. So then obviously in Summary tab, you can review all environment parameters that you've set up and click Next. And then in the customer sign off, you can type your name and then click Save. After you do that, the request will be submitted and executed by Microsoft Dynamics Service Engineering team. Now the environment status is changed to queued. If you need to modify any parameter in your request, click the queued button. If you need to cancel the request you submitted, go to the Customer Sign-Off tab and click on Clear Sign-Off. This will recall the previous request. Now you can restart the wizard and submit a new request. It'll take several hours until the environment is completely deployed, and then your environment will show up as deployed. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, let's first learn what an asset library is within LCS and what type of different asset libraries we have, and then we'll dig into the LCS environment and see how the asset types can help us to implement our projects, okay? So what is an asset library? We have an implementation project. Asset library in LCS is a repository for storing various types of artifacts used in an implementation project. Since we'll be discussing about environments a lot moving forward, let's learn a little bit about environment topology that should be implemented for finance and operations. So first, let's see very briefly what is an environment. So consider each environment as a virtual machine, which is created on Azure. So a virtual machine is an emulation of a computer, just like your desktop or laptop you're using now, and it includes an operating system and hardware that appears to the user like a physical computer running Microsoft Windows or other operating systems, such as Linux. You can then install whatever software you need to do the tasks you want to run in the cloud. The only difference is that you don't have to buy the hardware or install the operating system. The cloud provider runs your virtual machine on a physical server in one of their data centers, often sharing that server with other isolated and secure VMs. And now, since we're using Dynamics 365, which is offered as SaaS model or software as a service, an instance of this product would be installed on each virtual machine as well. So in a very simple word, an environment is a virtual machine, which includes OS, virtual hardware, as well as Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation application. So anytime when we are implementing a project for finance and operation, we usually have at least these environments. The first environment is build environment. It is also called golden configuration environment that contains only module configurations without master or transactional data. It's also be used as a baseline for our data migration testing and eventual go live. The other purpose of having this environment is that if we have several developers working on different extensions or different change requests, we would like to centralize and integrate all of those changes in one environment. That's where we are pushing all those changes into build environment so that build environment will include all the different extensions that have occurred during the process. Now, we wanted to expose these configurations and extensions for our quality assurance team so that they can start testing our changes and configurations. That's why we're required to have another environment called QA test or different terminologies that can be used, but the main purpose is to expose it to quality assurance team. This is the first level of testing. So now once the QA team has passed all the tests and are satisfied with the outcome, we would like to expose these changes and configurations to functional users across different cross-functional departments within the organization. That's why we need to have another environment called user acceptance testing or UAT or pre-prod that will expose those changes to our functional users to start testing it. And then eventually we would like to start operating based on our extensions and configurations. And that's why we have production environment that will include all the greatest and latest changes that we've made in our previous environments. The other term that has been used in environment topology is that all the testing or development related environments, such as build or any individual dev 1, dev 2, dev 3, or even the test, are falling into tier 1 sandbox, whereas the UAT environments are falling into a tier 2 sandboxes. The other thing is that the tier 1 sandboxes usually are managed by customers, and UAT and production are managed by Microsoft. So how Asset Library helps us in here? Actually, Asset Library helps us to manage the code updates across different environments. It also helps to manage data movement across different environments. For instance, we can move configuration from one environment to another one. It also helps us to manage business process models that have been created within Business Process Modeler tool within LCS or any other tools such as Visio, Enterprise Architect, or any other type of available tools. We have two levels of asset libraries, shared or project asset libraries. So let's say within Lifecycle Service, I have two implementation projects. One is F&O implementation project. The other one is Commerce implementation project. Artifacts that are used across multiple projects are stored in the shared asset library. At the same time, each individual project has its own asset library. Okay. Now that we are familiar with certain concepts and terminologies, let's get back into Lifecycle Service and let's see what we can do within Lifecycle Service using asset library. Now I'm in LCS environment. As we discussed, artifacts that are used across multiple projects are stored in the shared asset library. These libraries can be accessed through LCS homepage by clicking on Shared Asset Library. So if I click on this one, assets in the library are organized by type. To upload new assets, you can click on plus button. So let's say if I need to add a new file, I'm going to click on Add button here and give a name to a new field and then click on Add File to upload my file asset. I'm going to go to Downloads and I have this package upgrade. I'm going to click on Open and Upload. So upload is successfully done, and then I'll click on Confirm. So you see that the asset has been added to this asset type. It's not a right place, but it was just for demonstration to you. The scope is set into just me. To make the asset available to your entire organization, you should then click on Publish button. Files published by Microsoft appear with the scope of global. So if we take software deployable package as an example, which has 57 records, you see the list of packages in the software package. The scope of these assets are global. We discussed that each project has its own asset library. So if I go back to my Lifecycle Service, and choose my project and click on Asset Library, you will see the assets that belong to that specific project. So now what I would like to mention is that you can also import some asset types from the shared asset library. By clicking on Import button, and the list of shared asset library will be listed, from which I can select my preferred one. And then by clicking on Pick button, that will appear in my asset list. Then I can deploy them in my environment, which we're going to see it a little bit later. Now let's discuss some of the asset types in the library. BPM artifact is a list of business process libraries that are available for the project you're in. BPMs are created by Business Process Modeler tool in LCS. We're going to learn about BPM modeler and BPM models in next sessions. Cortana Intelligence application stores files needed to implement Cortana Intelligence application in your environment. Data package stores definition of data entities in the predefined sequence and can be used for easy movement of data between F&O environments. GER configuration is used to store in distribute electronic document configurations used in generic electronic reporting. Power BI report model, you can save Power BI definitions known as .pbix files in this asset type. Files here are available in Deploy Power BI model files form in Dynamics 365 in the environments that belong to this LCS project. Software deployable package contains code updates created using build environment in the LCS project. Software deployable packages are validated when they're uploaded to the asset library. Valid software deployable packages can be applied to the test environment such as UAT or any other additional environments. When testing is completed, packages can be marked as release candidate. In order to do that, select one of the packages and then click on release candidate button here. So the packages marked as release candidate can be applied to the production environment. Now let's see how we can deploy one of these packages into one of the existing environments. So that's why I'm going to click on hamburger icon and click on cloud hosted environments so that I can access my environments and choose the one that I would like to apply the changes on. So now for instance, I'm going to click on test environment and then click on full details. So in this page, you'll see the details of your environment. Each environment is a virtual machine on Azure. So of course you can from here go to Microsoft Azure portal and use the Azure portal to manage your environment. As well as within these several fast tabs within each environment, you can perform some of the tasks that are available in here instead of going to Azure portal. For example, in the monitoring fast tab, you have some diagnostics features. For example, you can have full system diagnostics, make sure that the environment is healthy, and also environment monitoring for checking the performance, the user load, and many other available things. In available updates fast tab, it allows you to see your current version and indicates the available service update that Microsoft has released, and you can deploy it on your environment. In the Power Platform integration, if you've already had installed any Power Platform application into your environment, it's going to be listed as add-ins in this fast tab. And obviously, the most used one is Manage Environment, which it gives you some Azure-related information, such as what is the environment ID, when and what time it's been deployed, by who was the environment administrator, and many other information. And environment version information represents the application release and platform release. For my example, as you see, it tells me that the application version is 10.0.13 and platform release is update 37, which is 7.0 version. But what we need to do to complete our task to update the environment with the new packages that we've uploaded on software deployable package, we should go on maintain button and then click on apply updates. Then obviously you can choose one of the existing packages and click on apply button. And by doing this, your environment gets updated by the changes of the package. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, I would like to introduce you the Business Process Modeler. So the Business Process Modeler lets you create, view, and modify standard process flows inside finance and operations apps. BPM standardizes the process flows, documentation, and its usage throughout the implementation lifecycle. In order just to explain it to you, it would be much easier if I demonstrated to you what exactly a BPM look like and what are the benefits that you can get out of it. I'm in my lifecycle homepage and we need just to go on our project. I'm going to click on my project. And once you are in there, you can click on hamburger icon and open Business Process Modeler page. You will see three types of libraries, business process libraries. The first one is project libraries. So you can create new libraries specifically for each individual project. You can even create some libraries for your corporate level. It means that it can be reused across all the different projects that you might have in your LCS environment. The third type is global libraries. These are the libraries that have been produced by Microsoft so that you can use them as your starting point, and then from there you can start modifying it per your own organizational internal processes. In general, Microsoft is using APQC standardization. What is APQC? APQC is the world's foremost authority in benchmarking, best practices, process and performance improvement, and knowledge management. And Microsoft is using the industry standard processes as described by APQC. Usually, from my own personal experience and many other people who are long enough in this industry, we all know that if we follow the standard processes, the risks and the mistakes that might happen during the implementation will be mitigated and will be decreased considerably. All right, so it's very much recommended to use one of these libraries as the starting point. All right, so in order to copy any of these global libraries into your own project, you just need to click on the three-dot button and then give it a name, such as in this one I'm going to give a demo name, and then click on create button. You will see that the new library will be added in my project libraries, and if I click on that, you'll see that I have exactly the same processes that was initially in the original global library. Let's get a little bit familiar with the structure here. So in the first glance, you will view all the processes, and then if you click on each individual, you will see the process hierarchy, which includes sub-processes, and as you see, some of them include diagrams. So I wanted just to show you an example. I'm in demo library and I went to develop and manage products. Within that one, I just opened the manage product and service portfolio. I drilled down into manage products and service master data, and within that I went to manage products, and now I clicked on create a product master. So I clicked on this one and I see the details of this particular process. I can view the diagram that is associated to this process. I'm going to click on that, and as you see, it shows me the flow chart that how the product designer can be used and what are the steps that should be followed in order to create a product master. And as you see here, it shows me first product masters will be called, then product details, and at the end dimension groups. If you want to know more detail about the process steps, in the properties section, you are able to see all the details. So it tells you even where you should go. For example, in this particular example, it tells you go to product information management and products under product masters, then click on new and follow the rest of the steps that have been shown in here. The other cool thing that you can do, you can open all those steps that we saw together in a Word document. If I click on the doc in here, it downloads the file in the Word format. So the file has been downloaded. If I click on that, you see that very nice document has been produced with a nice cover page, and even the name of the even document control, because you might have several revision of the same process, and then within the content you will see the whole details that have been outlined in here. By clicking on edit mode, you can make some changes on this definition per your own organization need. You are also able to download your process using download button. Let's download the file to see what is the default format of this file. So as you see, the extension of this file is AXTR. All right, this file can be uploaded in Azure DevOps as a unit test, so that can be used within Regression Suite automation tool for regression testings. So something very interesting that Microsoft has done is the great collaboration between this business process modeler and task recorder within finance and operations application. So all the details that we saw here together, these steps, can be produced by using task recorder. It's not like you can go and write them down. The system will do it for you. So as you might guess, this tool sounds very handy, especially the QA team can use it for doing the regression testing, as well as you can use it for the training to your functional users. And in general can be used as a repository for your processes where you can trace the evolvement of the processes within your organization. Now that you guys are familiar with BPM and LCS, I would like also to show you how you can generate these type of processes using Task Recorder within Finance and Operation application. So in our next session, we're going to focus on Task Recorder. Hello and welcome to this session. So within this session, we want to discuss about Task Recorder. In order to be able to see the integration between BPM and Task Recorder, I'm going to jump into the demo library that earlier we created it, and we continue the rest of the process from there. Let's do a nice test together. I'm going to create a new process by clicking on Add Process. When I'm clicking on any of these nodes, it allows me whether to create a new process underneath as a child or as sibling, which is going to be another node at the same level. So I'm going to click on As Sibling, and then in this new business process that has been created, I'm going to give a meaningful name to it. This is going to be our order to cash process. Click on Save. So within this process, the first step is Add Child. I will create a new process, call it Create Sales Order, and then click Save. As you see, there is no diagram and there is no details for that. Now we're going to go in the Task Recorder to create a guide for this process. So now I'm in our F&O environment. If I click on this gear icon, you see that the second option is Task Recorder. If I click on Task Recorder, there are several options. I can create a new recording. I can play a recording which is already saved as a guide, or I can edit the existing recordings, and then also I can play back the recording. Now let's create a new recording and let's call it Create Sales Order, and then click on Start. So I'm going to go in my Accounts Receivable module. Under the orders, click on All Sales Orders, and you see that the first tab has been captured. This time I'm going to click on New. When you are recording any tasks, if there is any drop down, make sure that you are opening it up and then selecting your record, because that will be used within your guide. So I'm going to choose, for example, US003 customer, and we'll leave the rest of information as is and click on OK. At this moment, I have to choose my lines. I'm going to click on drop down list again, choose standard speaker, let's say, and then give a quantity of 10. Then click on Save. So now, in order to stop my recording, I'm going to click on Stop button. Now I have several options to save my AXTR file, whether into my own PC or Lifecycle Service, or export it as a Word document, or save it as a developer recording. I'm going to click on Save to Lifecycle Services because I would like to attach this process into our BPM. So the list of available libraries will be shown up, and you can choose your preferred one. In our example, I'm going to choose the demo library. Now I would like to save it in the new business process that I just created. Unfortunately, this sounds like a bug from Microsoft that I do not see the changes that I've made on the names, but we knew that it's on the child node, so I'm clicking on the new business process and then click on OK. Hopefully by the time that you're watching this video, this issue has been solved. Now I'm in demo library. I'm going to refresh this page, Control F5, or you can click on the refresh button to retrieve the latest information. And as you see, there is one diagram attached to this process. So you see that the Create Sales Order has already some details apparently, because there is a diagram attached to it. If I click on the process and I go on the diagrams, you'll be able to see that these are the pages, all sales orders and then sales order, and these are the process steps that we've recorded it together. Another interesting thing that you can do, you can play recording as guide. So you can click on this button, and then I'm going to open the process that we just uploaded it together. I'm going to click on select lifecycle service library to retrieve demos processes, then click on new business process and the new business process, which is a create sales order, and then click on OK. Once we've done that, you see the recording name is create sales order, the one that we just created together. Now, if I click on open task guide, it loads the steps, and then you can click on start task guide. What it does, the application walks you through the steps that have been identified within the recording. So it tells you go to accounts receivable orders and all sales orders. And now it tells you that you should click on new button. Once I click on the new button, now the next step is customer account. It tells you that in the customer account field, enter or select a value. All right. So I'm not going to continue till the end, and I will stop the task guide. I hope that you enjoyed it as well and could see the value of this task guide or task recording. So once you've done this, then you can get back to where you were. Okay, I'm going to click on cancel on the creation of sales orders as well. Of course, you can edit the recording. Similarly, you can click on the edit recording and then load your recording and try to edit it. Playback recording as well. You can just similarly load your recording and replay it. So that's it. I think you learned about task recording and you saw the integration between task recording and BPM and how they can be consumed. There are a lot more to talk and discuss about this, but I just wanted to give you an overview and inspire you to go and dig in it a little bit further. Hello and welcome to this session. Within this session, I would like to discuss about LCS issue search and support. Issue search helps you to find existing solutions and workarounds for known issues in finance and operations apps. While you're working with finance and operations apps, if the system behaves not the way that it was expected, you are facing an issue and you need to find any existing solution or workaround for those issues. For that purpose, you can go within your lifecycle service and use the issue search feature. For that, you need to go to your project and then by clicking on hamburger icon, access the issue search page. You can use issue search to search for product issues and determine whether an issue has been resolved, is open, or has a workaround. Let's say when entering the search criteria, you can enter a keyword or group of keywords or a Microsoft knowledge base number, also known as KB number. You can also use a $sign to indicate an application object tree, object path in this format, $sign / object type / object, or $sign / object type / object #element. Standard search operators such as and or are also supported. So let's do a quick search in here. I would like to search for any issues that are related to expense as a keyword, and I click on apply filter. So as you see, you can use issue search to search for product issues that are here. By using this filtration, you can determine whether an issue has been resolved, is open, or has a workaround. You see that they have color coding. If I click on any of these issues, you have a lot of information. It tells you in which release is accessible, what is the KB number, what is the type of the fix, is that application update or platform update, when is the release date, and what is the problem, and a description of the change. You can also access the code of changes. So if I click on view changes, you see that I can access all the different files that have been modified for solving this particular problem. And if that's my need and I would like to have access to it, if I do not have this hotfix already applied in my environment, I can click on download update and get the changes. So as you see in the zip file, I will have the package that includes these changes and I can apply it in my environments following the same steps that we've discussed in previous session. You can also use issue search for regulatory features and determine whether a feature is available or is planned in a future release. Let's say I would like to know if there is any regulatory feature available for UK VAT. And for that purpose, I'm going to remove all the different filtration. I keep the products and regulatory features and also the certification, registration, and reports. And then you can even filter based on the country. I keep all the countries. I will not filter it based on specific country. And I will apply filter. I can see, for example, for UK, making tax digital for VAT, fraud prevention. If I click on that, I can read the KB article and see all the details about that specific knowledge base. You see? Next feature is support. The support feature uses several tools to empower users and implementation teams to collaborate on issues, resolutions, and quick turnarounds for closure. If a hotfix is available based on the search context, users can download it. If the issue relates to out-of-the-box product functionality, then in the LCS support listing, the issue should be flagged for submission to Microsoft. A selection of your support plan or SLA and contract needs to be made. For example, Premier versus non-Premier while submitting the issue. Any interaction with a product environment can be done with a Microsoft Service Engineer, and any communication with a Dynamics Service Engineer needs to be tracked, organized, and user-friendly. Therefore, there is a need for a service request so that the customer, partners, advisors, and implementation teams can raise a request for any service needs in the production environment. The support tool provides the following information in different tabs. So in the support issues, as you see, you can have active issues or submitted to Microsoft issues. You can directly submit an incident from here and report your issue from exactly here, or you can do it through F&O application, which I'm going to show it to you in a little bit later. And you can manage support plans, export incidents to Microsoft Excel, And these are the things that you can access. And also you can see what are the submitted tickets into Microsoft for now, and you can see what are the statuses and have they been solved or not, what was the plan type for that specific, for example, request. So in the active issues, you can report issues as either an end user from the FNO application client or as a developer in Azure DevOps. If needed, an active issue can be raised to Microsoft. And the ones that are submitted to Microsoft is not required to create an active issue before you raise it to Microsoft. Users with appropriate permissions in LCS can submit an issue to Microsoft directly. Hot fixes requests: when business users encounter an issue while using FNO applications, they can search to find whether Microsoft has published any hot fixes regarding the same issue. If so, the business user can submit a request for a hotfix, which will be available under this section. The system administrator can assign the request to the IT team for further evaluation. There is another way to create a support ticket through FNO application that I would like to show it to you. Now I'm in FNO application, and let's say I found out that there is a bug in expense report, and I would like to report it to Microsoft. So I click on question mark icon, and then click on support button. Before creating a new ticket, we should search into existing tickets by providing some keywords in this search text box and go through the list, see if our issue has been already reported. And if it was reported and we found it in the list, we'll get the KB, go back in our LCS environment and view the status of the ticket, whether it's solved or it's still open. Then you will be informed about the status of that ticket. Now, if we want to create a new ticket, simply we click on create button. In here, you should just give a very precise title and very detailed description. This not only can help Microsoft to reproduce your issue easier, but also it helps the rest of the people who are having the same problem, and they can find their issue in your ticket and will be able to use the resolution that Microsoft will provide for solving your reported ticket. The more you provide information in here, the better Microsoft can handle this ticket. So you can provide, for example, task recording, you can provide screenshots or file attachments, and then submit your ticket. Then you can follow it up by going into the support issues in LCS. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, I would like to talk about how we can get product updates using LCS. So there are several terminologies that are being used when you are talking about product updates that I would like to discuss about and make you familiar with those topics. So the first one is one version service update. What it means: instead of applying separate updates for the application version and another update for the platform version, both will be updated at the same time for cloud deployments of Dynamics 365 updates. This feature is named One Version Service Update. The next topic is release cadence. In LCS, you can manage continuous updates for your finance and operations apps instance. There is a release cadence for these updates provided by Microsoft. The updates can be automatically applied by Microsoft or manually updated by the customer, as long as the schedule meets the time frame where Microsoft releases that specific version of the service update. So just as a point in here, when Microsoft releases new versions, they've allowed the customers to be just 2 versions behind the released version. This is recommended from Microsoft to be always updated by the latest versions. The reason behind is that in each version, they are keep fixing bugs and also adding new features per customer's requests. So you should plan it accordingly and be prepared for the latest releases. And you can do this task through LCS environment. They also give you the possibility to test the new features in advance by using Preview Early Access program, or is also known as PEAP, where you can get the latest available monthly update just before the stabilization state. You can sign up for the PEAP program by joining the Insider program available at Experience Dynamics 365. And after your application is accepted, you'll join the program and you'll be able to enable the features in preview before they are generally available. You can also manage the new features from your feature management workspace within Finance and Operations apps. We can see them together very rapidly. The next topic is talking about continuous update settings. So within LCS, the customers can select the maintenance window based on their business constraints. We're going to see this together in LCS. Now I'm in LCS environment. I'm going to click on the project. And from the hamburger icon, I'm going to click on project settings. In project settings, there is a tab called update settings. If you click on that, you will access all details about the updates. So as you see, a calendar of upcoming updates is available to help you plan. For example, in my environment, the production updates are scheduled for 3rd Saturday of every month, starting from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And if you want to see more details about that, you can click on this link. In general, customers can pause, delay, or opt out of an update by using the update settings, and for up to 3 consecutive updates. You'll receive notification of the upcoming updates in LCS 5 days in advance according to your settings. If you want to manually update, then you need to go to the environment details, then in the maintain menu, select apply updates. Okay, that we've seen it together in asset library session. We can validate the updates in the sandbox before updating production. by using RSAT or Regression Suite Automation tool, where you can build multiple test cases and run them automatically to validate that the updates have been applied successfully. The other topic that I would like to demonstrate to you is about feature management within FNO application. So I'm right now in FNO application. You can click on this feature management from the dashboard, or you can easily go to the system administration and then from the workspaces choose the feature management. Any of those will work. I'm going to click on feature management workspace. Within this page, you can access the list of all available features. And as you see in this workspace, it shows you the list and you can click on each and get the description to understand the concept of it and what it's supposed to do. And also you will see the modules that this feature belongs to. This workspace also shows us that 117 of them are new, 372 of them are not enabled within the environment, and 0 is scheduled because you have the possibility to schedule it. Let's say if you want to enable any feature, let's say the first one, which is more related to Bahrain country, and the description shows in the credit invoicing layout, they've made some modification. You can easily just enable it now, or you can schedule it for later on, and the feature gets enabled within the environment by the given time. So I can see the not enabled, scheduled, or even all. Hello and welcome to this session. Let's see what we'll learn at the end of this module. First, we're going to have an overview about data migration topic by including what is data integration and what are the available integration patterns. Then we're going to learn about data integration strategy within FNO. Several techniques that exist, such as you can consume OData and batch data APIs. You can also create your own custom services and consume external web services. And then we'll learn about Excel integration as part of the data integration strategies. And at the end, we're going to look into data management workspace, and we'll learn about different concepts that exist within data management, as well as we'll build an export project together within FNO application. Are you ready for that? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we're going to discuss about what an integration is, and we're going to learn about some concepts that are considered for an integration. So let's suppose in our company, we have FNO application, which manages all our customer information and their sales processes. Beside that, we also have other application systems such as CRM and many other custom developed applications that they also require customer information and also store more information for the customers from other angles of our business. We also have implemented a data warehouse database that merges all customer information in one centralized DB so that Power BI reports can consume the data from data warehouse. On the other hand, we already have a legacy AX system that we need to push its data into Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. All these scenarios simply explain the data movement across all applications. This data movement across applications in general is called integration. Due to different scenarios for integration, we might choose any of synchronous or asynchronous integration patterns. A synchronous pattern is a blocking request and response pattern, where the caller, which is process A, is blocked until the callee has finished running and gives a response. Okay? Whereas an asynchronous pattern is a non-blocking pattern, where the caller submits the request and then continues without waiting for a response. Now that we are familiar with the key concepts of integration, in the next session, I would show you what the integration strategies are within FNO. Hello and welcome to this session. Now let's discuss about integration patterns, scenarios, and solutions for finance and operations. Although we can't include all technical details about how to use or set up every integration pattern or how to work with sample code, it's always wise to be aware of available integration tools. Just as a hint, be prepared that there would be one or two questions about this topic in MB300 exam. So there are several integration patterns available for finance and operations apps, such as OData, Batch Data API, Custom Service, Consume External Web Services, Excel integration. So first, let's learn about OData and what is the benefit of using OData and which scenarios are more fit for using OData. So OData is a standard protocol for creating and consuming data, all right? So as you see, I might have a client which it wants to connect to Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation for CRUD operations, meaning creating a record, reading records, updating, or deleting a record. The cool thing about OData is that this protocol is based on representational state transfer or REST for these CRUD operations, all right? And it applies web technologies such as HTTP and JavaScript Object Notion JSON format to provide access to information from various programs, all right? So as benefits of OData, we can refer to the developers will interact with data using RESTful web services. It enables broad integration across different products. It uses HTTP protocol stack as we discussed, and it's recommended for these scenarios. In scenarios when we are looking for synchronous integrations, usually is used for not very high volume data integration. The frequency of call could be low, like ad hoc, okay? In these scenarios, it's more recommended to look into OData as an integration tool. Now let's discuss about Batch Data API. In general, this solution is used for import or export high-volume data. Batch data APIs are considered asynchronous integration patterns because when these APIs are called, data is imported or exported in batch mode. We usually use the Batch Data API in scenarios that require one or both Data Management Package REST API and recurring integrations. Both APIs support data import scenarios and data export scenarios. So Package API, it allows you to integrate with FNO by using data packages, okay? Whereas in recurring integration, it's built on data entities and the data management framework. It enables the exchange of documents or files between FNO and any third-party application or services. It supports several document formats, source mapping, XSLT, and filters. So the next solution would be custom services. A developer can create custom services for finance and operations apps. When a developer writes a custom service under a service group, the service group is always deployed on two endpoints, SOAP endpoints and JSON endpoints. The next integration is with external web services. So once there are some other applications that are exposing their data through web services, these web services can be consumed within FNO application. Simply, a developer can consume web services by adding new class libraries to finance and operations apps. So the last integration is Excel integration, by which the users simply can use Excel capabilities within FNO, and they can read and write data using Excel Data Connector. Excel Data Connector interacts with Excel workbooks and OData services that are created for publicly exposed data entities. And that's how it allows Excel to integrate with Microsoft Dynamics 365 FNO. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to show you data management workspace within FNO. But before, we should learn a few concepts that exist within this tool. So the first concept is data entities. A data entity is a conceptual abstraction and encapsulation of one or more underlying tables. A data entity represents a common data concept or functionality, for example, customers or vendors. Data entities are intended to be easily understood by users familiar with business concepts. After data entities are created, you can reuse them through the Excel add-in to define import-export packages or use them for integrations. The next concept is data project, a project that contains configured data entities which include mapping and default processing options. The next concept is data job, a job that contains an execution instance of the data project, uploaded files, schedule or recurrence, and processing options. A data job is created when the import or export operation is performed. The data job creates an instance of the data project and runs it. If you're doing an unplanned import or export, then there's typically only one job for each data project. If it's being done multiple times with different data, then you can use the same data project to import data multiple times by using different jobs. Job history is another concept. History is of source to staging and staging to target jobs. And the last concept is data package, a single compressed file that contains a data project manifest and data files. This is generated from a data job and used for import or export of multiple files with the manifest. So now let's go to the application and see how these concepts are working together. So now I'm in the FNO application. I'm going to go to the system administration, and under the workspaces, you will be able to see the data management. I'm going to click on the data management, and this is your workspace, all right? So now let's learn about some features and functionalities available in Data Management Workspace. First of all, this is the enhanced view, what you see here. Originally, what the people who had worked with Dynamics 365 in the previous version, they are more familiar with the standard view, which it looks like this. Now it's enhanced, and as you see, it's a little bit more organized, and you can access the information you're looking for much more easier. In the first section, we see some tiles that allow you to run some import and export actions, such as import, export, copy into legal entities, or dual write, different type of integration that you can perform. But the most used one so far that I've seen, it's import and export. Recently, the copy into legal entity has been introduced as well, which is very helpful to migrate data from one legal entity into another one. So as a first test, we're going to export our customer information from USMF legal entity. Now let's create a data project for export, okay? So I'm going to click on export button in here. And I'm going to give a name as customer export. I'm going to call description the same name. And in the data project operation type, we have three options: export, import, or copy into legal entity. Since now we are doing export, I'm going to keep it as export. Project category, it allows us to have several options, such as project, configuration, integration, other, or common data service. Since now we are creating a data project, I'm going to keep that project category as project. The next thing, I should now add my entity to this data project. So I'm going to click on add entity. Now we should choose our entity name. I already know the name of the entity is customers V3. I can do this, or easily you can just click on the down arrow and choose your entity from the list. And in the target data format, you have several options, such as colon separated AX, comma separated, Excel, XML. There are several options. I'm going to select Excel. If you already have a sample file where you have defined some of the fields of customer entity, not all of the fields, you can click on yes and upload your Excel file. And once you've done that, the integration will just export those fields that you've named them in the Excel file, right? For now, I don't want to do it that way. Usually when you are importing or exporting data in FNO, the data will go on the staging before going to the target, where you can preview your data and make any modification if it's required. This process can be skipped, but now I do not want to skip it because I would like to show it to you what the benefit of staging would be. Default refresh type allows you to choose if you want to push all of your data or just the ones that are modified recently. So I'm going to keep it as full push only. Select files, I keep it as all fields, and I click on add. System gives me some warnings, such as sales memo, for example, one of the columns that has 32,000 characters. They say that the data longer than this limit will be truncated on the import, which is fine. So you can read the warnings if you want to take any actions over them. I'll close this out. And I still say add, and you see that the customers with 3 entity has been added to my list. You can click on the view map to see the mapping between source and your target. So you see this is the source entity and the fields within that entity, and this is the target, which is going to be your Excel file, and it shows you which fields are mapped. Some of them are not mapped. You can go in the mapping details and add them by clicking on new button here, or removing some of the existing ones that you do not require, and then save it. For now, I'm not going to make any changes. I'm going to click on close this out. And now let's just proceed and export our data. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on export button here. So the system tells us that the back job is scheduled. If I close this out and close this one, now you will see that in the job history, there is one job has been executed at the time that you click on the export button. And if you want to see the detail of it, you will click on execution details. And as you see, the entity processing status shows as succeeded. But the data that is being exported shows 0, and it means that no data has been exported. So obviously, as you see, I'm in that legal entity, and in that legal entity, we do not have any customer information. So we should now switch to USMF legal entity and export data from that legal entity. As you might notice, the data projects are shared across all legal entities. So then now simply I can switch to USMF legal entity, and this time I run my data project for this legal entity. Another way of running this data project is just selecting it and click on run project and say export and close. So you see that right now I'm in the execution detail. And to see the final status, you can keep clicking on the refresh button to get the final result in your status. So this time, as you see, it shows us that 34 records have been exported. Now what I wanted to show you is about view staging data. Right now, at this moment, the data has been exported into staging database, okay? So if I click on view staging data, you can see the data in the staging where you can modify it per your own need. For now, I'm not going to make any changes. You can bulk update, mark duplicates, you can do several things, but I'm not going to change anything, just wanted to demonstrate to you. And close this out. And now I wanted to push my data from the staging into the target, which we had selected as Excel file. For doing that, I'm going to click on download file. And as you see, the Excel file has been generated. Now let's open our Excel file. So this is the file that I opened it. And as you see, I have 34 records in the Excel file. Hello and welcome to this session. In scenarios that we want to import or export multiple entities, system should know in which order the data should be imported or exported. This is what we want to focus on in this session. This is an important topic as there are usually 1 or 2 questions in this regard in MB300 exam. So let's get started. So the execution unit, level in execution unit, and sequence fields of an entity help control the order that the data is exported or imported in. For example, We want to import-export these four entities. And as you see, sales tax code, sales tax groups, and sales tax exempt number, they all have execution unit as 1. And sales tax exempt code has execution unit 2. And sales tax code and group and exempt number, they all have leveling execution unit as 1. The sequences, though, are different. And as it shows, sales tax code has 1, sales tax groups is 2, and sales tax exempt number is 3. In the second unit, we just have one entity, so obviously leveling execution unit is 1, and also sequence should be 1 as well. So let's see how the data is usually imported or exported. Entities in different execution units are processed in parallel. So execution unit 1 and execution unit 2 will be processed parallelly. In each execution unit, entities are processed in parallel if they have the same level. So it means that level 1 in execution unit 1 and level 1 in execution unit 2 will be processed. And now, since all of our entities, they all are in this level and they all have level 1, so this time system will look into their sequences and will process them sequentially based on the sequence numbers. So in our example, first sales tax code will be processed, second sales tax groups, and then third sales tax exempt number. After one level has been processed, the next level is processed, which we do not have any in this example. And then in execution unit 2 as well, sales tax exempt code will be processed. Hello guys, and welcome to this module. In this module, which is so interesting topic and cool feature, we're going to learn how to access FNO functionalities on our smart devices. So in an overview session, we're going to learn what is FNO mobile application and from where we can download it and access it. And then we'll learn an overall overview of high-level architecture of integration between mobile app and FNO application. Then we'll continue with some of the out-of-the-box mobile apps. We'll learn about them, and we'll focus on, for example, one of them, such as expense management app, and we'll learn how to publish it on our mobile devices, and then we'll create an expense report through our mobile apps. And at the end, we'll do some hands-on experience on how to create a new mobile app from scratch using Page Designer tool, and then we'll create a customer management workspace together and publish it into our mobile devices. So are you excited for that? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. As you know, we live in a digital age, and it's difficult to imagine a day without smart devices. You use mobile apps almost every day for your social engagements, online banking, and for booking hotels, flights, and rental cars. With this in mind, it seems only natural that you can use finance and operations apps on your smart devices as well. So there is a good news that the Dynamics 365 Unified Operations mobile app is available for the most popular mobile operating systems. You need to have an instance of finance and operations apps and valid user credentials to log in to the application. So for Android OS, you can download this app from Google Play Store, and for iPhone, accordingly, you can download this app from iTunes App Store. So let's see how the Dynamics 365 mobile app architecture looks like. The Finance and Operations Apps Application Object Server, also known as AOS, is used for sharing application objects and information as an effective tool to increase application performance. The mobile app communicates with AOS to get metadata for the mobile workspaces and the pages and fields that appear on the page, and to get data for the fields on the pages. So that's how it works. First time logging in or after pull to refresh on dashboard, mobile app sends a request to AOS to get mobile app metadata. AOS sends back the requested information in order to download and cache workspaces, including page and field metadata. First time opening a page or after pull to refresh on the specific page, mobile app sends a request to AOS in order to open form and extract data. That's where AOS returns back the requested info in order to download and cache data for the page in mobile app. Lastly, in order to queue a CRUD, we call it create, update, delete operation, mobile app sends a request to AOS in order to open form and enter data. That's where AOS returns back the success or error messages if the operation was successfully done or there was an error occurred during the process. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, here is the plan. As we saw together, the mobile apps available on the application, we would need to go to our mobile phone to install the Dynamics 365 Unified Finance and Operations mobile app, and then publish the expense management mobile app from the FNO into our mobile app, and then access it from there. So that's how we're going to do it. Let's switch to our mobile environment. The page would be a little bit smaller because I would like to show you my mobile device. So my mobile has iOS OS, and I will go to the App Store, all right? If you have Android, obviously, you need to go to Google Play Store. For now, this is the plan for this demonstration. Let's do it. So I'm in App Store. I'm going to go and search for Dynamics 365. And if I scroll down, you see the purple icon here, Finance and Operation. This is the application you should download and launch it to connect to your Finance and Operation application. Since I've already installed it, then I can just easily open the application. So I'm going to click on the Open. So you see that you have two text boxes here. This text box allows you to provide your environment URL like purely till the end of a COM, okay? So we don't want to have extra parameter that usually it's been passed to a URL, including like the query string such as company name or type of the mode of loading the page. This type of information should be excluded from the URL. And then once you've provided it in the first text box, if you click on the down arrow button, it will be copied into the second text box and you're almost done. Then you can click on the connect. Now, application is warning you about that you're connecting to this service, which allows you to use a large amount of network data and storage space on your device, and any other software that is installed by this service will also inherit the permissions that you've granted to Dynamics 365 application. They just wanted to inform you again, be aware of this, and then you click on I understand, and then click on connect button. So as you see, since I have Authenticator installed and this is part of the verification process, I should go and approve the sign-in request from my Authenticator. I'm going to do that. So if I click on you received a message here, it says that approve sign in, then I say yes, approved, and then it asks me to provide the Touch ID, and then I can unlock the Authenticator and then get back to my environment. So since the verification process is already done, then I can access the workspaces into my mobile application. So this is the environment. If you click on hamburger icon, it gives you a few menus available such as workspaces, notifications, about if you want to change your company and switch to different companies. For now, it's already set up to USMF as you see, but I'm able even to change the company to any other available legal entities and then load the information for that particular company. So what you see here is plain in my environment. There is no workspace for the mobile application. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to my Finance and Operations application and publish the expense management. Let's do it. Let's go to our settings, click on mobile app, and then from the list, I'm going to choose expense management, click on publish. I got the notification that the mobile workspace expense management has been successfully published. Now let's go back to our mobile, see if the workspace has been available. I'm going to open my environment, and as you see, for now I don't see any workspaces. The reason behind is that once the mobile app sends a request to AOS and get the metadata back into mobile app, it's caching the data so that it can have a better performance. In order to reinforce, to reload, to reconnect to AOS and get the metadata again from the server, you need to do a refresh or kind of round trip to the server. One of these two ways can do the job. Whether you can fully sign out from the app and then re-sign in, or you can switch to another company by changing the company. Once you are changing the company, mobile app sends another request to AOS and reloads the information. The metadata will be pushed back into the mobile app. And that's why now you see that I switched to another company. The expense management is listed now, which it means that the data is reloaded. Now I'm going to switch back to USMF to have more data in there, and then click on Save button, and then I'll click on Expense Management. There are several pages available for expense management. You can capture a receipt where you can upload your receipt and give it a name and put some notes, and then you can close and your receipt will be created within FNO. I can even create an expense report. Easily I can just go in there and then click on new report. You see these are the available ones that have been already in the system. I can create a new report. I'll give it a demo expense and I'll call it mobile so that we can find it easily on FNO environment. And that's simple as that. Location is not a mandatory field, but in case if you would like to provide more info, you can provide it. I would say main office, and then done. So the demo expense mobile has been created, and we're going to go and check into FNO later. I can go and provide more detail to it to submit it. What I would do, I would create a new expense, choose the category. I would say car rental, and I would say, let's say Uber, let's say, and I'm renting a car from Uber. The transaction amount was, for example, 150. And the currency was USD, and done. Now the data is being pushed back into my FNO environment. As you see, it's syncing the data from my mobile into the server now. If for any reason I was disconnected from the network or I wasn't able to connect, data wasn't being pushed into FNO environment, it's going to stay in my mobile, and once the connection was corrected, the data will be synced back into FNO application. That's what in general we call it offline solution. If you have the approval role as well, you can easily approve the expense reports that are coming into you using this mobile app by clicking on Approve Expense Reports. So the fun part starts when we go back to our FNO application and see our newly created expense report in there. Are you ready? Let's go in there. Now I'm in my FNO application in USMF company or legal entity. I'm going to go back into Expense Management and then click on Expense Reports, or even you can go to the workspace. I'm going to go to Expense Reports. So as you see, this is the one that we just created together, right? Demo Expense Mobile. And if I click on that, you see that the category car rental, Uber, and whatever we've identified there has been pushed into FNO application. So obviously it's bidirectional integration. It means that if I change something now in FNO, it will be replicated back into my mobile app. But don't forget, you should just refresh your workspace. So in our next session, it's going to be much more fun to create a new workspace from scratch using Mobile Designer in FNO application. See you there. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, we're going to demonstrate how we can create a workspace within our mobile app. Okay. In order to do that, based on the requirements that you've gathered from your partners or customers, you should have a clear design based on their needs. All right. In our example, I would like to create a customer management workspace for my client who wants to have access to the list of the customers through the mobile app, and then from there see more details for each specific customer. In first place, I do need to create a list of my customers. Anytime when you want to create a list of any type of entities, you need to go to that specific entity list, then from there start designing your workspace. So for this particular example, I'm going to go to accounts receivable and all customers list page. Now that I'm here, I'm going to go and click on the gear icon and then click on mobile app to see the list of my workspaces that are already designed. In order to create a new workspace, you should create it by clicking on the create button. In there, you can give a meaningful name to your workspace. I'm going to call mine customer management, and I would put a demo at the beginning. There are several themes that you can use. I'm going to use Blueberry workspace color. You can also even assign an icon to your workspace. I leave it as is. And then in here, the fun part starts where you are designing your pages. The first page that I would need to create, as we discussed, whether we can call it all customers or customers, whatever is like appropriate for your purpose. I'm going to call it all customers following what exists in FNO. And then click on Done. I'm redirected to the field selection page where I can select the fields that I would like to appear in my list on mobile app. I'm going to click on the select fields. And that was the reason that I told you that you should be already in that list page, because there is a connection between Mobile Designer and the lists on the page. You see that there's a plus button up here in here by which you can add the field into your page. So in general speaking, for my requirement, I would like to show the account code to my customer in the list and the name. And in the high level, I would like to show them the currency and the customer group that the customer belongs to. So this is my grid, which will contain this information for each individual customer. So far, we've created our list page, okay? I'm going to click on Done and click on Back. And again, click on Done because now the page has been created. And now I'll click on Save button. At this moment, my demo customer management workspace has been created, but it's not yet published, right? You see that it's not published. We can publish it so that it can appear on our mobile app. I'm going to click on my workspace and then click on Publish button. So I got the notification that the publish was successfully done. So let's go back to our mobile app to see how it looks like in the mobile app. So now I'm in my mobile. I'm going to click on FNO application here, connect. I think you're familiar with the process now. I'm going to click on I understand and then connect. I have to approve my authenticator. So this is my mobile application, which it loads my workspaces in there. But it takes a little bit of time to get the new updates. And as you see now, the demo customer management workspace that we just created together appear in my list. I'm going to click on that. And this is a page that we just designed it together. It's all customers. If you click on that one, you'll see that the grid is listing my customers based on the information that I asked, which is customer code, name, customer group, and currency. The cool thing about this is that you already have a search mechanism available where you can just easily search your records. Let's say I would like just to filter the customers whose name include Arizu, or I would say, let's say, well, if I just search based on US, you'll see that all customers whose name includes US appears in the list. Not all this time, all right? So this is very cool. It's interesting, right? All right, so now let's get back to our FNO application and add a little bit of more detail to what we've designed it together. Now let's open our demo customer management workspace. I'm going to click on the demo customer management and then click on edit. So let's say now in my list for each record, I would like to add some extra information for any specific customer, but there is not enough room within the grid to show those information. In this type of scenarios, what we do usually, we're going to go to our page and click on edit. And on the grid, you might create another page attached to the grid where you can define your additional fields, all right? So how we can do it, I'm going to click on the grid as a list and then go to the properties. In here, you can connect your grid to any existing page, but in our scenario, I do not have any. So I'm going to click on add page and I would call it additional info. I would call it customer additional info and then click on done. In here, it allows me to select my additional information that I would like to appear in my list. I'm going to click on telephone, let's say invoice account, extension, and then done. Okay? And then back, done. Save. So now, in order to reflect my changes into the mobile app, I have to unpublish and then again publish my workspace so that my changes will be applied to my mobile app. Now I'm in my mobile app. I'm going to go back to my all customers just to show you that still my changes haven't been applied. I need to do a pull to refresh thing, and I go back to my change company as we discussed and then save, and again back to my USMF company and then save. Now I assume that my changes should appear. I'm going to click on all customers. This time you see that the arrow button here appears. That's where our additional info appears. So if I click on any record, it takes me to customer additional info page where it loads the extended fields that I've added to my record. It takes a little bit of time. Okay, for example, for this one, there is no specific info. But if I go back, for example, in my second record, which it had already telephone number, at least telephone number appears in here. So as you see, if the record data is null, it doesn't even show it in the page. So it appears like it's empty, right? All right, perfect. It was cool, right? Of course, you can do a lot of things in here, but I can't cover all the details. I just gave you a heads up so that you can continue learning it when you need it. Hello guys, and welcome to this module. In this module, we're going to focus on reporting within FNO application. So first, we're going to have an overview and we'll learn about different types of reporting tools that you can use within finance and operations apps. In the next session, we're going to learn about financial reporting and we'll explore the financial report within FNO and we'll generate ledger transaction list report together as an example to get familiar with a report within finance and operation and learn about the different building blocks within a report. And ultimately, we're going to get familiar with Report Designer by exploring its building blocks, how you can create a new report, and we will create a new report together using the Report Designer. So are you ready for learning all this? So let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. The first step in working with the reporting functionality in FNO apps is to understand the reporting features that already exist and you can use, either as they are or through small extensions to match your customer requirements. Finance and operations apps provide several reporting tools that cater to various data access scenarios. For example, the needs of users when they are interacting with business documents such as sales order, purchase invoice, differ greatly from scenarios where they want to explore data at an aggregate level or derive insights by using artificial intelligence models that are hosted in the cloud. Finance and operations apps provide specialized tools for 5 reporting experiences. I would say 5+1, and I'll explain why and what they are. The first one is embedded analytics and native controls. Remember about workspaces? They usually contain built-in visualizations that are used in operational reports to aggregate data by using native controls such as charts and grids. Those are kind of reports, right? Next one is SSRS, primarily used for business documents and high-volume printing scenarios that are common with invoices, packing slips, picking lists, and more. These type of documents are created based on reporting services. The next one is Financial Report Designer, flexible tool that is used to customize and create financial statements such as balance sheets, income statements, and cash flow statements. For these type of reports, we usually use Financial Report Designer. Next one is Power Platform. It includes dashboards and workspaces that contain predefined and personalized views, Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate integrations. Electronic reporting. It's used to configure electronic documents in accordance with the legal requirements of various countries or regions. And I see Excel as the additional tool to create your reports, all right? By using Microsoft Office integration built-in feature, you can export selected or all rows from a list page grid and export data entity values into a Microsoft Excel workbook for reporting purposes. Then you can use the rich capabilities of Excel, such as pivot table, charts, and more to present your data. In the next session, we're going to explore the financial reporting a little bit further. Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session, we're going to learn a little bit about financial reporting. What is financial reporting? Financial reporting allows financial and business professionals to create, maintain, and view financial statements. It moves beyond traditional reporting constraints to help you efficiently design various types of reports. Financial reporting includes dimension support to determine what financial dimensions you want to include and the sequence, and enables the building of a custom reporting structure, all right? You can map main account and financial dimensions or combinations of the two to gain better insight of financial data. Now, where we can access financial reporting, there are three modules that we can access financial reporting from there: general ledger, budgeting, and consolidations. General ledger and budgeting both are in the inquiries and reports section. We're going to see it together. Now, what are the prerequisites for using financial reporting? Before creating and generating the financial reports, we should have done already some setup in certain items, such as currency, fiscal calendar, chart of accounts, and ledger. So if you're not so much familiar with this, I do suggest to you to go and watch my first course and make yourself familiar with those topics, all right? So once you've set them up, then you're able to use financial reporting. So the next topic is financial reporting setup, okay? This page exists under the general ledger setup, which we'll see together, but it has a list of all financial dimensions in the system, which it has two sections that determine the data that you would report on in financial reporting: dimensions and attributes, okay? We'll see it together and we'll discuss it further once we have seen it. Next topic is financial reporting components, okay? There are a few components that make it easy to create, view, and schedule reports, such as Report Designer, by which you can create report building blocks that can be combined to define and generate a report, and Report Schedule, by which you can schedule a single report or a group of reports. The next topic is financial report retention policies. As you run financial reports, default expiration dates are applied to each one to automatically delete them after a period of time. Any reports can be retained for regulatory purposes. However, by using the expiration feature in financial reports, you have two choices: 90 days or never expired. We're going to see them together. Now let's go to our FNO environment and explore financial reporting in there. So now I'm in USMF legal entity. As the first step, we wanted to look into the financial reporting setup. We're going to go ahead into general ledger module and ledger setup. And then from there, I'm going to click on financial reporting setup. So as you see, it has two tabs: dimensions and attributes. So in the dimension, you can assign all the dimensions that you would like to be available within your financial reports, okay? So as you see, this is all my financial dimensions have been selected and are part of the financial reports, will be available in there. They're also ordered based on main account is the first one, business unit is the second one, and so on and so forth. So you see that by these arrows, you can just order them. So anywhere, if there are financial dimensions available, this would be the sequence of seeing them. So in the Attributes tab, this is where you can select whether you want to use vendors and customers as attributes for filtering and report design. Reporting on vendor and customer will only be valuable if you do not enter multiple vendors or customers in a single voucher when posting transactions. Selecting vendor and or customer will add more time to the integration, of course, right? So that's why you should do it attentively. Now, let's go with this scenario. We want to generate and explore an existing default financial report that exists out of the box. A report that includes all accounts and contains account properties or attributes for the accounts, all right? Then we'll be drilling down into transaction detail, applying a dimension filter, and changing the currency on the report. So this is our plan. So first, we're going to go to General Ledger module. From the inquiries and reports, we're going to select financial reports. These are the list of default report definitions out of the box within the system from which you can generate your required reports, all right? Most of them are so famous in financing, such as, for example, actual versus budget, balance list, balance sheet and income statement side by side, cash flow, detailed trial balance, or let's say ledger transaction list, income statement. These are all most known reports that any finance department would require, whether to hand it to government based on some regulations that any country might have, or for their own analysis to determine how company is healthy in terms of financial performance. Now let's take an example, ledger transaction list default, and generate a report, see how the report looks like. I'm going to click on generate button. And I will update the report date to 2016 because after that I do not have much transaction, but till then I have a lot of transactions in the system that Microsoft has created. I'm going to click on OK, and it's an asynchronous process, and behind the scene the report gets generated while you are still able to do the rest of your tasks. For example, I can even click here and there, so you are not blocked. All right, now I'm going to go back to my ledger transaction list. My report hasn't appeared yet. Once the report gets generated, I usually receive a notification from the system. So this is the header or title of the report, which this is the name, and this is the name of the legal entity, and the report date that you've chosen in your parameter section. You also have some other information here. So all your horizontal information that you see here, all accounts, star, and these two amounts, they called row, all right? And each individual information that you see them vertically are called column. So we have two notions or two building blocks in all financial reports that are called row definition and column definition. We're going to look into them in the next session, but I just wanted to show you which area of the report we are referring to. So in this report, for instance, let's look into the information here. So this is the name of your account and the ledger account and two debit and credit amounts, right? You are now in your first level of your report, which it shows you the all accounts and the summary of your debit and credit within the system. You can drill down from your all account and see all accounts that are creating this result. So I'm going to click on the all account here, and it takes me to another level of my report where I can see all my accounts with a ledger account and specific debit and credit based on the summary of all transactions that belong to this specific account. And you can scroll down and see all your details. We can even go one level further where you can see even vouchers that are resulting this outcome, right? So for example, I'll take an example, accounts receivable domestic home. If I click on that, it lists all the journal numbers and all the vouchers associated with the debit and credit details by which you can trace back to the original transaction that created this voucher, all right? You will have a 360 view of your whole financial transactions. The next cool thing that the reporting offers is to convert the currency of your amounts within your report, which is originally defaulted by USD, into other different currencies. For example, for now, we are loading our amounts based on US dollars. And as you see, 6656 is the first bank account USD home. And now I would like to change this into euro. In the matter of seconds, the system did the conversion of all your amounts that appear in your report based on the exchange rates that are defined in the system today at this moment, all right? This is really, really a cool thing. Now let's go in our all accounts level. There is another cool feature that's called report options. Report options allows you to add additional filtration on your report by whether adding new attributes and provide some criteria for that specific attributes. For example, you can choose any of this list, customer name, document number, any type of attributes, or you can easily choose from your dimensions and filter your report based on a specific dimension. For now, I'm going to choose, let's say, business unit, and I'm going to provide auto, for example, as a criteria so that the whole report gets updated based on that business unit. Now that we learn about the report, let's see how this report has been defined or configured within a report designer in the next session. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we're going to discuss about Report Designer, and we'll explore how we can modify an existing report definition based on our own needs. In order to do that, let's go to General Ledger and Inquiries and Reports, and then click on Financial Reports. This time, let's go to another report, Summary Trial Balance, for example. And then we're going to click on Edit this time in order to open the Report Designer. We're going to get a prompt saying that you want to open Report Designer application, and we say yes, skip. Report Designer application gets downloaded. If I click on that, it says that application cannot be started. Well, I've noticed that we get this error when we are trying to open the Report Designer via Chrome browser. I do recommend to go in Microsoft Edge instead of Chrome. So I'm going to take my URL, and this time I'm going to open my Edge, and I paste the URL in here so that it takes me to the right page. And I'm going to click on Summary Trial Balance, and then click on Edit. So this time it tries to open this file. I click on Open. It's launching the application. Now it asks me to put my credential. I'm going to put my email address and then click on Next. So as you see, the report designer gets loaded. So in the left-hand side, you see the list of the reports that you've seen them already in FNO system. Anytime if you click on any of these reports, for instance, I'm going to click on summary trial balance. In the first page, in the right-hand side, I see the report definitions, which is like the settings for that specific report. And as you see, this tab, report definitions, has been selected. All the financial reports have some common parameters that you can set up for them, such as the company name that you can whether consider it as dynamic by choosing any, assign any parameter, which then in the report you can switch from any companies to another one. It allows you to do so, or you can choose one of the existing companies that you've already defined in your system. Detail level, it allows you to choose the level of details you want to see in your report. If you keep it on financial, then you will have just a summary in the first level, just having very, very high level of debit and credit for all accounts. If you want to drill down and see for each individual account what would be the debit and credit, then you can choose financial account. And most of the time it's much more interesting to go one step further, not only see the account but also see the detail of the transactions as well. The next important parameter is the dates, right? So you can define the base period and the base year. Whatever period you choose indicates the period that is covered in your report. So for me, that I've chosen 2021 and number 8, it means that all my transactions that will appear in my report belong to the 8-month ending. And now, most importantly, we should refer to the building blocks. These are the blocks that will create your report. The main important one is the rows, where you are defining the row that will appear in your report, and then column or field that appear in your report, okay? Any of these building blocks can be selected from the list beside each. So as you see, for example, for row, there are many predefined row definitions within the system right now that I can pick any of them based on my need. Column, similarly, these are predefined column definitions that have been created within the system from which I can select my desired one. So as you see in this example, my row definition is set to trial balance and my column is summary trial balance default. In order to see how the rows or columns look like and how they've been defined in the system or make some modifications on them based on our own need, we can go, for example, for rows in the row definitions, clicking on the row definitions, which it takes us to the list of available rows. And then from there, you can double click on the one that you're looking for. In this area, you are defining the rows that you would like to appear in your form, in your report. In this scenario, for instance, we would like to have all accounts it links to our main accounts that are defined in our FNO application. And then also even you can do filtration on your financial dimensions. That would be additional filtration you are doing on your accounts. So you can choose, for example, any of these financial dimensions that are loaded in these columns and then provide some more filtration and say, for example, in this example saying just I would like to see the home financial dimensions. What this combination does is that it will bring all main accounts that they all have financial dimensions business unit and their business unit is equal 001 belongs to home, okay? I'm not going to change this one because if you want to do any modification on the existing rows or columns or even the report, make sure that you save it as a new one and create your own so that you do not change any original existing definitions. So that then in the future, if there are some mistakes or something, you still have the original version of it. So for instance, if I would like to save this as, I'm just going to the file and then click on save as button here and then rename it to something more different, such as I would call this trial balance, and I'll give a description that this is a demo report, and I click on OK, all right? And then as you see, it's going to be added to my list. Now, if I want to do any modification, I can do it in here. And once I've done this modification, such as in here, I will call it 001 to 001. I say OK and click on save. Don't forget, when you created this one, you have to assign it to your report to see the impact. But again, I'm not going to change this original one. I'm going to create a new report. I'm going to click on, save as, and I'll call it this time demo, and I'll call it demo description, and I click on OK. Then I can make any modification on that if I would like to. And I click on demo, and now I will select the trial balance demo as my row definition. Now let's see how our column looks like. I'm going to click on summary. I wanted to look into summary trial balance, which is the name of our column definition. Let's click on column definitions. In here you will see the default column definitions. From the list, I can click on the summary trial balance. Don't forget that you should always double click, okay? So that your information appears in the right side. So this shows us that we have several columns with this header, my main account, name, voucher, opening, and these are the attributes for any specific column. Column type usually shows you what is the type of that column. This one shows us this is account. Second one shows us the description. The third one is attribute. When it's attribute, you should select what attribute you're referring to. For example, voucher, in the book code and attribute category, if I double click on this, you see that the list of all attributes will be shown up from which you can select your desired field. So in this example, it's been already selected as voucher, which represents the voucher number. Opening, debit, credit, net diff, and closing. Well, actually, these three first, they have the column type of financial dimension. If I click on this one, you see that the FD represents amounts from financial dimensions for each one, okay? And then which which attribute or which book code we've chosen for each individual, you see that it's set already to actual, which is the actual amount that belongs to opening, for example, amount, or debit or credit. So these two fields, like net diff or closing, they are calculative. And as you see, the formula that has been used for each individual, in this one it shows E plus F, similar to Excel. It means that this field will be calculated from the summary of debit plus credit. And the closing, accordingly, will be D minus G, which it shows opening. So whatever actual belongs to opening minus G, which is net different, and that will represent the closing. That's how you can read it. I'm not going to go through the whole details because it's going to be very time consuming, but just wanted to give you an idea that how they will look like. Now that we've created our own row definition and our own report, which it is using the newly created row definition that we did it together, let's generate this report and see how it's going to look like in F&O application. In order to do so, I'm going to click on the generate button here. And as you see, the report is loading the report definition. So the process is ongoing. It's requesting the data now from F&O. Like there are several things that behind the scenes running, and the final message that we got is complete. Okay, so you see that it's completed. Now let's go back to our F&O environment to see the reflection of our work. Let's load our financial reports by going to General Ledger and under the Inquiries and Reports, Financial Reports. In here, you see that our new report appears in the list called Summary Trial Balance Demo. And you see that it's been already generated, and I can click on that to view my ultimate result. So you see that this report view contains no data. We have to check a few things. The parameters that we've set, the report date, dimensions and accounts, and a valid reporting tree unit. So let's get back to our designer. I'm in my report, and as you see, the base year and the period has been set into the last 2 months. And I'm sure that within this duration, I do not have any transaction. For that reason, I'm going to change my base year into 2016, which I'm pretty sure that I have transactions in that year in the USMF legal entity. Now, let's save it and regenerate the report. Yeah, now it's completed. So you see that my new report gets generated. I'm going to click on View. So now you see that this time my report has data, and as you see, it shows us that all accounts are selected and just one financial dimension, which has the code of 1, which we know that it represents home. And if I click on all accounts, you'll see all the details that belong to home financial dimensions. So all the accounts that you see in here, they all have home as financial dimensions. We can always click on that specific account and get more details of the vouchers and to see the details of each voucher value. The next cool thing I would like to show you is about if you are in the account level, and if you click on any of these amounts, whether it's in credit or debit or any of these type of amounts, if I click on any of those, you see that I have the option to open account transaction. This takes me to the system where I see the whole vouchers that are resulting that specific amount. And obviously by clicking on transaction origin, it takes me to the original transaction that created this journal entry. This is pretty cool, right? Hello guys, and welcome to this module. Within this module, we're going to learn about the bad jobs within F&O. In the first session, we're going to get an overview about bad jobs within F&O. We'll learn when to use bad jobs, what are the benefits of using bad jobs, what are the features and capabilities within the bad jobs, what are the features and capabilities for bad jobs, and then we'll learn about batch framework components. We'll get familiar with concepts such as batch job, batch task, batch group. We're going to learn about all these topics within the overview session. And then we'll continue by learning about bad jobs within F&O application. We will run a report as a bad job together, and we'll set up alert for that bad job, as well as we'll create a bad job using bad job menu. We'll learn about bad jobs lifecycle and then job sequencing. So are you ready for all those? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, let's discuss about a few facts about bad jobs in F&O. So the first step, let's see when we can use bad jobs. If you want to run tasks such as printing reports, performing maintenance, sending electronic documents, or additional scheduled tasks, then bad job is a very good approach. What is the benefit of using bad jobs? By using bad jobs, you can reduce performance impact on your computer or server during standard working hours. What are the features for bad jobs in F&O? First of all, about execution types, bad jobs can run either sequentially or concurrently, all while spreading the workload across the servers. You can also create dependencies between tasks as well. This will allow you to sequence tasks based on the succession or failure of the previous tasks. An additional feature is recurrence patterns for the bad jobs. This will allow you to schedule the same job to run periodically, such as a common maintenance job or processing invoices. The next feature is alerts. To monitor these batch jobs, you can set up alerts. These are sent when the batch job succeeds, fails, or finishes. After this batch job is processed, you can view the history, which includes logs and details that were encountered while the job was running. Now let's be familiar with batch framework components. The batch framework provides an asynchronous server-based batch processing environment that can process tasks across multiple instances of application object server. So there are several aspects within batch framework, such as batch job. A batch job is a process that is used to achieve a specific goal. A batch job consists of one or more batch tasks. Next one is the batch task. A batch task is an activity that is run by a batch job. You can add batch tasks that have multiple types of dependencies to a batch job. You can also configure AOS instances to run multiple threads, each of which runs a task. All batch tasks that are waiting to be run can be run by an available AOS instance that is configured as a batch server. To improve throughput and reduce overall execution time, you can define a batch job as many tasks and then use a batch server to run the tasks against all available AOS instances. And the last but not least component is batch group. A batch group is an attribute of a batch task. A batch group lets the administrator determine or specify which AOS instance runs the task. When you create a new task, it's put in the default batch group. All batch servers are configured to process the default batch group and the waiting tasks from any job. Additionally, you can create a named batch group and then set an affinity between that batch group and specific AOS instances. After you create this affinity, only the specified AOS instances will process tasks from the named batch group, and those AOS instances will process tasks from the named batch group only. You can also add the default batch group to the configured servers if that batch group is required. Hello and welcome to this session. So as we discussed in last session, in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation, batch jobs are used to automate different recurring processes throughout the system. Batch jobs can be scheduled to be run at different times and different recurrence schedules. They can also be used to run a resource-intensive or long-running job on the server instead of running it interactively on the user's browser, which will lock up the UI during the processing period. Batch jobs are typically managed by a system administrator, although I've seen certain power users from different departments take ownership over managing their respective batch jobs. First, we'll look at how to put a job in batch, which just means that it will be in a batch queue and scheduled to run on the server automatically. In this example, I'll use the customer aging snapshot periodic job, which is found in credit and collection module, periodic tasks, and age customer balances. When this job runs, it will update the age balances of customers to reflect the current balances of the specified aging buckets, typically something like 30, 60, 90, 180 days. So I will set some parameters in here, such as aging period definition, which I will choose 30, 60, 90, 80 day, and 180 days. And then in the Run in the Background tab, we first click on the recurrence, so that providing some parameters how often this job should be run. We're going to define the start date and time. And if you want to have this job gets run perpetually, then you can click on no end date. If not, you can keep it as is, or even you can define the end date by clicking on the end by. You also have several patterns, recurrence patterns section, that you can set how often the job should run, depending on if you select minutes, hours, days, or weeks or month. You will get different parameter options on the right side of the form to help you get the recurrence you are looking for. Once you've got the recurrence set, click on OK. If you want to set up alerts for different events related to the batch jobs, you can click on the alert button in here. You can have emails sent to you if you enable the email slider. To get the notification alert, you can select the show pop-ups. This will display the alert in the notification center. Let's set it up now. So I'll click on OK now. Next, to actually schedule the batch job, you need to enable the batch job flag. We need to also select batch group. So by clicking on this slider to yes, batch processing, I'm going to schedule the batch job, as well as if I choose the batch group, I would say choose empty batch group. So in general, the batch group is used to distribute the processing load of different jobs to different servers. For now, I'll leave it as I selected the empty batch group. In order to see what is the setup that has been done for this batch group, I'm going to right-click on the drop-down button in here and then go to the View Details. If I click on Empty Batch Group here, go to the batch servers, you see that this server has been assigned to this batch group. All right? So now I'm going to close this one. Once you've selected the batch group, typically there is a blank batch group that we just selected it together. We can click the OK button to put the job into batch. Let's do it. And then as you see, I got a notification confirming that the job has been put into the batch queue. So let's open it up, and it says the customer aging snapshot job is added to the batch queue. So our first step is done. Now let's see how we can pause and resume a batch job. In order to see your batch job in the batch queue, we can navigate to the system administration And then under the inquiries, you have a batch jobs available. I'll click on that. This inquiry form shows all batch jobs are currently in the batch queue and the current status. Now, I filtered the job description based on the aging that I knew that this is the name of my job, and you see that the job description shows customer aging snapshot and is the one that we just created together. The status shows ended, which it means that the job is completed. And I also received a notification that the batch job customer aging snapshot completed successfully. If due to any type of errors the job was failed, this status would have been changed into error. So as you might notice, there are several statuses for a job. Withhold. The batch job is withheld from the batch execution schedule, all right? So it's not going to be run. Waiting. The batch job is waiting to be executed at the scheduled time. Ended it means that the batch job has completed. This does not mean the job ended without warnings or embedded errors. In some cases, there could be warning messages that were thrown during execution that can be viewed in the individual batch history record. So if I click on, for example, my specific job, go there, I can access to the batch job history. And then if there is any error, I would be able to track it from here. These are tougher to find because the majority of records might have been processed successfully, but others were not. Since there were some that were successfully processed, the system does not mark the entire batch job as having an error. For this reason, it is always good to have reports in place to monitor the completion of critical batch jobs that have a high risk of failure. So there is another status called error, where it means that there was the batch job was failed due to an error. And there is also another status called canceling. Well, I don't have any jobs that is canceled, but in some cases you may need to cancel a long-running job in the middle of execution. This status indicates that the job is currently being canceled but has not yet ended. Depending on the job, there may be a rollback procedure that executes as soon as the job enters canceling status. So in general, that's how the statuses will be associated to a job. When you submit a job to the batch queue, the status will start with waiting until the scheduled runtime. If you want to pause the batch job and prevent it from running, you can click the change status button here. You can select it and click on the change status button here and put, for example, your job into withhold status. The batch job status will be changed to withhold and the job will be prevented from running. When you're ready to resume the job, you can change the status back to waiting and this will resume the batch schedule. Note, if you change the status back to waiting and the next scheduled start date time is in the past, the batch job will run immediately. I've run into this a couple of times where I wanted to resume the job at a normal time, but the next scheduled time was in the past and the job ran as soon as I put it back in waiting status. So make sure you check the next scheduled start date time before you resume the job. Now let's discuss about job sequencing. There are cases where batch jobs need to be scheduled in a certain sequence for various reasons. These can be done by creating a new batch job from the batch job list queue and manually adding the jobs as batch tasks. In order to do so, you can navigate to the same page from the System Administration and Inquiries and Batch Jobs, and then click on the new button here. So here is the plan for this job. We would like to create collection letters for the customers, and also we wanted to post collection letter note. Okay, so this job includes 2 tasks, and we're going to do it together. Let's give a right name to it through job description. We're going to call it collection letter demo, and then we can set the scheduled start date into yesterday so that as soon as we change the status into waiting, the job gets run immediately. Now I'm going to save my batch job. Now let's define our tasks. So I'm going to click on the new button in here and I'm going to give a meaningful name to my task description. The first task is going to be creation of collection letter. And then I'm going to give the class name, which I know already the name of the class, cost collection letter create. This is the name of my class from AOT. And if I click on the top button, the class description gets loaded. If you're not sure about the name of your class, you can always select it from the list. The next information that we should provide is the company accounts, which we should identify which legal entity will be used for this task. All right, so we're going to choose USMF. And then batch group, we're going to still use the empty batch group. There is no condition for this task. We are kind of done for this one. I can click on the new button. Once I click on the new button, you see that the task ID gets generated. So my first task is already done. My second task would be posting the collection letter note. So I'm going to call it post collection letter note. And then I choose cost collection letter post as my class name. When the system is happy, usually the class description gets loaded, and it happened for this one. Similarly, I have to provide my company accounts. And then once I click on the second row, you see that the second task ID also gets generated. But there is another additional step that we should do. We wanted to make the second task, which is post collection letter note, gets run after the creation of collection letter. How we can do this sequence? You can go to the post collection letter node, and in the batch task details, you can provide a new constraint. I'm going to click on the new button in here, and I say that I would like once the creation of collection letter task is ended, then this task can be run. It means that it's on withhold status till the first task is ended. Now we're going to save our batch job. We are done. But then how we can run this job? As we discussed it earlier, the status of a job should be on waiting so that the job gets triggered. I'm going to go to the change status, and I'm going to change the status into waiting. Since my scheduled start date is yesterday, That's why I'm expecting the job gets run immediately. So now let's go to the backdrop history to see the final status of our job. So the status shows ended, which it means that it's completed now. And if you click on the backdrop ID, it takes you to the job ID. And then within that, you will get your tasks that both statuses are also ended. All right. So that was it. So now you're able to create any type of backdrops based on your requirements. Hello and welcome to this session. Today is the day you completed your course. Congratulations. Thank you to be with me during this journey, and I hope I was able to give you what you were expecting for. So let's review what we've learned together. So these are the features and capabilities that we reviewed together. We started with personalization and we learned different type of personalizations. I'm pretty sure that you know what the difference is between personalization versus customizations now. We also look into very briefly into Power Apps integration, which can be done through personalization. We then look into Excel add-ins, part of the common integration, and actually Office integration with FNO. And then we looked into data integration and different migration strategies and integration strategies that we could choose. Then we learned about lifecycle services and the tools and features that are available within that portal. Then we look into Unified Dynamics 365 mobile app, and we learned how to create a mobile app. Then we look into the reportings, and we saw together different type of reporting tools, as well as we explored a little bit the financial reporting together. And then ultimately, we look into backdrops, and we'll learn how to create a new backdrop. I hope you will not stop in here and still continue to learn more in details about any areas that attracted you the most. Good luck, and hope to see you soon in my next courses.